That's the invoices. Ready?
Not yet, just give me a minute.
We're trying to go live.
We're good.
Okay, this is the September 20th meeting of the Village of Millbrook Board of Trustees. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, Nicole, could you do a roll call for the trustees?
Mayor Collopy.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Doro.
Here.
Trustee Herzog.
Here.
Trustee Contino.
Here.
Trustee Murphy.
Here.
Okay, thank you. A couple of administrative things first. For those of you who are watching on YouTube Live, go to the website, click on minutes and agendas, click on meeting docs. You can see all the charts we're going to go through tonight. All right, we're recording this as well. We'll post it tomorrow on our website. Just a reminder that tomorrow at 6 o'clock here, there's a meeting of the Natural Resources Inventory Task Force, part of Climate Smart Communities activity. And it's a joint activity between the town of Washington, the town of Clinton, and the Village of Millbrook. And for the Village of Millbrook, we have Trustee Herzog as well as Genevieve Glassman will be part of the presentation tomorrow. So FYI, you're all invited to that. And we'll do the same thing, we'll record it on YouTube Live. We'll broadcast it and then we'll go on the website as well. Just a question to the trustees and also the department heads. I sent out an email regarding annual training requirements for violence in the workplace and harassment. And I suggested a public meeting. First off, just note, if you have a job in New York State, you may get your training already. In that case, I'd just like you to send me an email to say I've been trained, just so you're covered, so I keep a record of that. This is to the employees as well as any of the trustees we have. I assume, Dom, you take care of your guys
Yes.
for your own thing, right?
Yeah, we do ours.
All right. And Bob, you guys have other training you do. Do you do this as part of your other training, or do you need special?
We have to take it.
All right, so you need us to do that for you?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. So I guess my question is there a sufficient demand for us to do this at a general meeting, or should we just go through the webinar? What do you guys think? Preferences? Yeah.
I prefer it to do a public meeting with the webinar broadcast so that we all have an opportunity to get that done at the same time, because the webinar at times can be cranky, doesn't work or whatever.
Yeah.
We got to repeat the process. So.
Okay. All right, so I suggested the 25th of October, not checking with Matt on availability. I think what I should first do is find out how many people are interested and determine then whether we need the firehouse or we do it in the Village Hall. I suggested the 25th of October. How's that date sound to you? Okay.
I am too.
All right, good. All right, so I'll set it up for 6 o'clock for the 25th of October, which is the fourth week, I think, of October. It'll be 2 weeks after our general meeting. And I'll make it open available to anyone else, in the either volunteers or employees or trustees who are interested. All right?
You're having it here or the Village Hall?
Actually, I'll determine based on how many people.
Okay.
I'll let you know.
You said October 25th.
October 25th. Hey, Matt, could you check your calendar and see if the 25th is available, just in case?
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, administrative business. So first off, Nicole took forever today to send out the minutes from the last meeting. So they just went out today. Ink is still wet. Have the trustees had a chance to review those minutes yet?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah?
I looked at them.
Wow. All right, very good. Any corrections or additions required? Yes.
Just on motion number 4.
On the 11 motions? Okay.
But the end of it didn't say all were in favor, so it talked about the motion and seconded, but it didn't end up with all were in favor, so the vote was not apparent.
Okay.
That's the only thing that I caught.
Any other corrections or additions? Making a motion to accept the minutes as corrected.
So
Yes.
moved.
In a second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Second, we sent out, actually Sarah sent out a few weeks ago, the minutes from an executive session I called. So last month, I said that we were having trouble with police coverage for a variety of reasons. And so I called a special executive session with the trustees solely for the topic about police on August 30th. And those minutes are also in draft form. I want to show the public what we did there, but first off, any questions or issues with the minutes as documented by Sarah? That minute. Can I get a motion to accept those minutes? In a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, let me just tell the public then what happened. As I said last month, against our budget of 104 hours per week of the police coverage, we were having a lot of problems with getting adequate police coverage. And the reasons are listed on the left-hand side. Based off, we lost a couple of officers, both Kelly and Officer Ritchie, moved on to, I would say, better, higher-paying jobs, and Officer Rich retired. We also been having problems competing with other municipalities, and specifically the villages of Millerton, of Red Hook, and also Rhinebeck are kind of in our situation where they are looking to try to beef up their part-time police force. And we're kind of competing against them on kind of an equitable basis financially. But we're all competing against the likes of Fishkill, which has put out a request for part-time officers starting at $28 per hour and going as high as $40 per hour. So the competition is getting pretty stiff, and Fishkill is not that far away. The third point is all of our officers have other jobs. So they do part-time here, even full-time here, and they have other jobs elsewhere. And based on the time of the year, those jobs may be offering more money, including overtime, and could take precedence over ours. And the other problem we had is sometimes they can't get from their full-time job to make it to a full-time shift. So based on that, we met on the 30th to discuss a series of options, and what the board agreed to do is the following. We found that if we look at the money we've saved year-to-date, fiscal year-to-date, with the uncovered shifts, and we reduce the coverage in the off shifts by at least an hour, that we can end up giving a across-the-board $3.40 per hour increase to the officers and still be within our 23-24 budget. We also, as part of this, required that they increase the number of mandatory shifts per month from 4 to 6 and include a weekend shift as part of their monthly commitment to the schedule. And we are allowing shifts that are still open after the first pass-through of the schedule to be filled but with partial shifts. So we felt as though it was better to have someone there for part of the time as opposed to nobody for a shift that they couldn't get to. And that's done after the minimum number of shifts have been met. So based on those conditions and based on our analysis of what was available to us, we approved that $3.40 per hour increase to the officers. And the outlook, the expectation is, based on the discussion with Officer Witt this week, we think that that has actually done a significant deal to improve the schedule starting in October. Can I say that?
Correct.
Okay.
I'll speak to that later.
We'll do that. Okay, fine. So that was the essence of the executive session we had on the 30th to cover police. Any questions or comments about that from the public? Okay. Let's go on to vouchers. Where are they at? Okay. So here's the story as far as the vouchers that we have to sign tonight for this month. And the total is for the current fiscal year is about $250,000. A lot of that is because in the sewer fund we received the what did we receive? The pump station, the pump.
Well, I'm sorry, what?
The reason why the sewer fund is $100,000 is because I think that was a combination of the
We haven't received any
main.
other than transfer switch.
I'm sorry, I thought there was $36,000 for the pump we received. No?
All
That-
we've received is the transfer switch.
But the bill in there that he just told me for 26,000.
That's for the generator, but that's on hold because I have nowhere to put it.
Ah, okay. So that's for the generator we received. Okay. So that, and then the mainline ceiling by A-Hole is in there as well.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah,
okay.
that's correct.
So that's why the numbers are significantly higher this month versus our typical. Any questions about the vouchers? Can I get a motion to accept the vouchers?
Make that motion.
In a second? Second. All those in favor? Aye. Okay, thank you. Next, I wanted to show just a heads up to the general public, but also just another reminder to the trustees about all the grants that we have going on that we've applied for. And actually what I found is that in the process of putting this chart together, I found that it's incomplete. So on the left-hand side, there is the status of our current grant requests. And at the top is we received from the county, using HUD money, 2 grants of $100,000 each for us to do the first 2 phases of the sidewalk project, which is going to renovate slab by slab the south part of Franklin between Front and Church Street. Mike Herzog will talk about that a little later. So that is actually approved and available for us to use. The second one is we've requested from both Senator Hinchy and Assemblymember Barrett a total of $250,000 towards the replacement of the pump station with the addition of a generator in South Norfolk that we were just talking about. And that's not officially approved, but everything's looking good towards us getting official approval of that in time for the actual machine hardware to show up later on this year. All right. The third item is we have identified a need for a $7.3 million upgrade to the wastewater treatment plant. And working with Delaware Engineering, we've submitted applications for both a WIA and a WQIP grant to allay a lot of the cost of the funding of this activity. Now, I got to tell you, the latest news is we submitted the grants last month, but we have been notified that the WQIP grant was rejected because of some issues between DEC and Delaware. And I've been in contact with the Delaware CEO, John Brust, about what they're going to do to rectify that. They're working on it. I'll keep you posted on it. But anyway, both grants were submitted, but one of them is still in abeyance. I will tell you also regarding that $7.3 million upgrade, we submitted a request to Representative Ryan, Senator Schumer, and Senator Gillibrand, asking their help using some member money to fund at least part of that significant capital investment. I've not heard from any of them yet. Oh, other than Representative Ryan said we didn't make the cut. I'm still waiting to hear back from the 2 senators regarding whether we can get any federal member money to help allay that cost. Mike, you submitted a tree survey to DEC. What is the status? When will we hear about that?
They said sometime in the fall. I haven't heard.
Okay, in the fall?
No, I haven't inquired since we submitted it. So.
And the last one on the list is we did submit a request for a mid-grant to purchase some police equipment that was rejected. We didn't make the cut on that either, but it was a valid request. I appreciated what Trustee Contino and Officer Witt did to put that in the works, and we'll go and resubmit the next time they come around. Now, putting this list together, I realized 2 other things that we've done. First off, the fire department received a $20,000 grant, mid-grant, last year to put together a training facility next to the town dump, and that is in hand and usable. And Trustee Contino and the Clerk Treasurer, Sarah Witt, put together a request for reimbursement of monies we spent during the pandemic to keep operating in a safe environment. And we have follow-ups going on as we speak. We're asking for Representative Ryan to help us get a response from FEMA on that request. It's $16,000, which is not a lot to them, but to us it means a lot. And they've done a lot of work to put it together. Thank you very much for that. And I think it's worthy of us to pursue trying to get closure on it. Okay? Any questions on that? So we do a lot of grant activity going on, and a lot of it is waiting to hear the final word. Another thing I want to talk about is on the right side of the chart. We have in the village 4 parcels that we've been paying taxes on, both school as well as property taxes. Total is $3,500 a year. Not a lot of money, but it's every year we pay that. And so we put together a plan to go and get that money off our books, that expense off our books. And the first thing that we did was we took 3 parcels that abut the wastewater treatment plant, and with the approval of our town assessor and Dutchess County Planning, we're able to consolidate those parcels into the wastewater treatment plant and basically take them off our tax rolls. So that actually happened, was approved, it'll be effective next June. The second one was, we have a dump behind Harry's garage that we're being paying taxes on. We're assessed a value of $84,000. And Deputy Mayor, why don't you explain what you did there?
I spoke to the town assessor and presented our opinion about why the value of the parcel is not $84,000. It's got very little resale value. We did shop it kind of privately to a few parties who were not interested due to the potential environmental concerns, and we were able to convince her to reduce the assessment from $84,000 to $8,000, reducing the village tax liability by a little bit.
Significant amount, yeah. And you actually did a comparison of what the assessed value was of the town dump, right?
Yes. I didn't bring it.
No, that's okay, but I mean, that was really...
The percentage was much higher on the village dump, so the assessor was in agreement that it should be
I think that was key
significantly.
to the winning solution there, so
Yes, so.
that was good. Okay. The other thing I did ask Don is, because one of the things the assessor said is, if we use that area for training for example, the fire department, we can actually write off the whole thing. There's not much left now because of what you did, but why not go to zero?
Right.
And I asked Don if he could just put that on his list of things to do, which basically requires the fire department to show proof to me in writing, here's what we did as far as training on that location, and based on that, we can write the whole thing off. Okay. No rush to do it. Put it on your list, though. When you do, let me know. All right? So thanks for that. Before I move on, what else? Oh yeah, one other thing I want to talk about is yard signs. I just want to have a discussion in the open here about this. So this is the time of the year when we have a lot of political signs going up. There's also a lot of commercial signs going up. And I was going around saying I wanted to, first off, First Amendment right, if you put it on your property, no ifs, ands, or buts, that's yours. All right? I'm talking about signs that are between the sidewalk and the street. And what I was asking was whether or not we could just move those signs or ask those signs to be moved to be inside the sidewalk, to get it off away from the street, especially for the sake of when we have action going on to clean the street or whatever, it becomes a nuisance. But just in general, just get away from traffic going in and out. So I talked to the deputy mayor about that. Based on that, I'd like to just make that as, I don't know, it's a policy or just a practice, that we would ask that signs which are being put right on the sidewalk or right near the sidewalk be on the inside as opposed to between the sidewalk and the street. Actually, I know Buffy had wanted to put signs there, and so she said, well, can we put a few in the flower boxes, especially since the flower boxes are owned by the MBA? And I said, that kind of makes sense. I like that to be kind of like the exceptions. So my question is, are there any conditions I'm not thinking about here, or does that make sense? Are there any problems I'm creating by making that as a rule of thumb as we enter the voting season?
I had thought that we should either allow all signs or no signs. We can't take a middle ground position. So I think just for kind of cleanliness and neatness sake, having them outside of the village right of way makes sense. I know other towns have had issues with certain, village employees taking down only certain party signs. So it's like to avoid any kind of issues at all, you could just not allow any whatsoever.
Yeah, along the village.
The village right of way.
Yeah. Okay, which goes just to the sidewalk. Any other comments from the trustees on that? Yeah.
I know in the sign code that the small signs that are there, if they are for commercial purposes, someone advertising roof repair, or this, that, or the other thing, are not supposed to be there, period.
Was that right?
So, and I'll defer to people who were on the sign committee previously. I know Kevin is here, who was on the sign committee, and as were some others. So if that is the case, then the idea that we're going to have signs all over the place, so someone who's a landscaper, someone who's a painter, you don't want to proliferation of those signs. Political signs are another animal, and I'm sure if Ian would tell us, you got to be careful with those.
Sure. Well, if it's on private property, right? That's a trigger.
If it's on private property, yeah.
And by the way, just to remind everybody, when I say private property, notice that the village green, that's the green attached to the gas station, as well as across the street. That's tribute garden property. That is not village property. Okay, just like the across the way in front of the tribute garden, that's also tribute garden property. And so if you put a sign there, you're supposed to have the approval of tribute garden before you do that. Okay. And by the way, they have the right to take that down too if you don't get the approval. Okay. Any questions or comments from the public about that? Because I want to just make sure, and I'll put it in my newsletter too. Just you know, this is a procedure we're going to try to enforce for the upcoming season. Yes.
Can you just clarify, can you say one more time, and does it go along with the Supreme Court law?
Say again?
Can you clarify it, say it one more time, what you're going to do?
Yes,
And does it go
what we're
along
asking
with
is, what
the
we're going to
Supreme
do
Court
is
decision?
ensure that any signs, whether it be political or commercial, are on the inside of the sidewalk, outside of the village right-of-way, which is technically 25 feet from the center line of the road, or for the sidewalk, we're going to say it's the other side of the sidewalk. So signs that are between the sidewalk and the street, we're going to move to the inside. And by the way, if someone put a sign there and it's on the corner of your lot, when we move it to the inside, you don't want it there, just take it down. Okay. Yes?
I would check with the Board of Elections before you move political signs.
Say again?
I would check with the Board of Elections before you move any of the political signs.
You're not moving to the inside of the sidewalk?
I would check with them.
Okay, fine. All right.
They gave us trouble 2 years ago.
I'm sorry?
They gave us trouble 2 years ago.
Really? Specifically what kind of trouble?
Moving signs on the corner.
Really? Okay.
You might want to check your sign code. I don't know if it contains regulations on location of those types of signs or
Well,
not.
I doubt it does for political signs. Well, we've got guys here from the sign committee, both Kevin and I thought Joe.
It does not.
Say Joe?
It does not regulate.
It does not regulate political signs. Okay. All right.
Well, generally you want your sign code to not regulate the speech because that
First Amendment, understand.
you get in violation of the First Amendment. But you can regulate it according to the size and location, things like that. So I just would have to look at it. I don't know what your code says specifically about.
Well, Joe just told us it doesn't address political
Okay.
signs at all. All right. Okay. All right, so I will check with the Board of Elections for the recommendation, just to make sure we're on the straight and narrow here. All right? And I'll document this in the newsletter. All right? Any other questions about that? Okay, thank you. Next, I asked Buffy to come and give us an update on the Community Day, which is coming right around the corner, October 7th. So Buffy, would you mind coming up? Just if you want to stand to the left of Don. Just so we can get you on camera.
Good evening. Community Day is October 7th. We have a lot going on. It's going to be big this year. Sort of the main events, a lot of events will be taking place at the library. Community Day setup starts at 9 a.m. It kicks off at 10 a.m. It'll go the traditional Community Day with like the Boy Scouts and businesses and sidewalk sales, and the deli is going to be doing hot dogs on the corner. The farmers market is going to be on Church Street, the other side of Church Street, Dutchess County. I think it's Health and Wellness is coming with a van to do like blood pressure checks. The fire department and the police department will be doing something on that side of Church Street as well. So that's like 10 until 2 p.m. And then between kicking off at 3 p.m. To 6 p.m. at the library, we're going to be doing a chili cook-off, a cakewalk. We have some distilleries coming, 2 distilleries coming. We have a couple of, I think we have a cider company coming. We have Hudson Valley Hatchet coming to do some axe throwing.
Outside of this is all.
Yep, everything's outside of the
Okay.
library. We have a tent that's coming to be
Is that
set up.
combined with the distillery?
Yes.
Yes.
We found out that, axe throwing and distilleries go very well together. That's going to go to about 6 p.m. We're gonna have a professional, division of the chili cook-off, and then we're going to have, so a lot of our restaurants are participating. And then we have a home cook division, so you can register online. You can go to millbrooknewyork.com. There's a little tag for Community Day. All the rules are right there. And it's going to be people's choice. We're not going to have anybody judging. It's just everybody gets a ticket. They go around for the home cooks, and they put their ticket in for whoever they think the best chili is, and same for the professionals. So it's the People's Choice Awards on the chili cook-off. So there's a lot going on. We have, I think, Dutchess County SPCA coming. We have CARE coming, which is another dog rescue. We have a, Rotary, MAG. We have music that'll be going on at the farmers market between, I think, 11 and 1, and then we're going to have a band at the chili cook-off as well. So this community day, we decided to change it up a little bit. It's a fall festival. We paired with the Millbrook Library, Millbrook Arts Group, Millbrook Rotary, and the Millbrook Business Association. So we all came together to sort of do a fall festival this year. We've really been working hard, so we're hoping that everybody will come out and enjoy it, bring their families, really spend the day in Millbrook, celebrating our community and the people who live here. And I think we'll have a lot of visitors coming through, which will be exciting as well. We're trying to get some advertising out there on some radio stations, newspapers, all of that kind of stuff. We are looking for volunteers. On Friday, we have some setup to do. We're going to get some more details on that. So we need some help, like setting up some tables and just decorating. And then Saturday, we're looking for some volunteers to sort of help guide people to where they need to set up, maybe help them unload their cars, and sort of organize and running the cakewalk and the axe throwing and the chili cook-off and all of that kind of stuff. So if anybody wants to volunteer, you know where I'm at, you can just come by, that would be great. But that's about it.
Okay,
So
I'd
it's a
asked
lot.
Matt if we can borrow 15 tables. Are we asking for
Yes.
circular tables or rectangular?
Rectangular,
Rectangular?
8-foot tables.
And I asked Bob's help to
Yes.
transport over there on Friday and pick them up on Monday.
Yes, thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
He just asked that we
It's gonna
fold
take
them
a
up.
village to make it happen, so we appreciate that.
Okay.
And, we got, Stewart's is donating, donuts and apple cider, so that'll be available at the library for anyone as well, that we're gonna have I think the Friends of the Library are going to take part and dole that out. So a lot's gonna be taking place at the library. We have tons of children's activities, bubble buses, we're on the fence about the face painting, but bubble buses, and we also have an ice cream truck coming to give out free ice cream.
Wow.
We have a bouncy castle and a lot of stuff.
So
A lot of stuff.
the only road closure is on Church between Reservoir and Merritt?
Reservoir and Merritt, so far, yes.
Okay.
Sarah did say that if we needed some more space, that you would consider doing Friendly Lane, but right now, I think we're good.
Okay.
Because we want people to be able to access that parking and everything over there.
And you did want the front of the library, no parking, so we could park the
Yes.
Wealth and Wellness,
Yes, well,
Health and Wellness van?
there's gonna be several vans there throughout the day. I'm not sure what's gonna go there.
Okay.
I think, the health and wellness will be on Church Street, but then we'll have, the ice cream truck there for the kids and, a couple of other things. And the axe throwing takes place in a trailer, so they'll, need to pull up there as well.
All right, so then the no parking from the library is from when to when?
I would say between 9 and 6 p.m.
Okay.
And it's just that little stretch from, the library, Friendly Lane, like right up to the Antiques Mall.
And how long should Church be shut down?
Church Street, I would say that's mainly just from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m.
We'll put cones in front of the library if someone can at the end of the day.
That's great.
Just stack them
Sure.
somewhere with the
Be
table.
happy to.
And you'll put out the barriers so we can close, the church? Okay, great.
Yeah. Any other questions? Yes? So the farmer's market's going to be on Church Street, like where Jay McLaughlin is, going up that way. Because, one, we didn't want to take away the parking, over on the other side of Church Street. And two, I talked to Bob Audia and he was, kind enough to let us use his parking lot for the vendors to park there.
Oh, good.
So they can unload and they can park there, in his parking lot. Yep. Booths are gonna be on the Church Street right there, they'll have music. We're working on a couple of food trucks that weekend for the farmer's market as well. Yeah, there's gonna be pumpkin painting at the library for the kids as well. Yeah, yes.
Since the farmer's market is gonna be set up there, what's the plan for the access to the apartments that are behind the Millbrook Cafe? There's like 8 apartments back there.
Yeah, I'm sure, I have no idea, I don't know.
It's just something we should probably consider because
Maybe we can give them notices or something like that, they could park their cars, maybe, you know,
On Reservoir.
something,
Right.
yeah,
just
Yeah.
something to consider, yeah.
Good point.
sure.
Okay.
Also,
All right, so-
also people can use my parking lot too, if they need to
Thank
put a
you.
vendor, if you guys do
Great.
it area.
Thank you,
All right.
appreciate that.
So Buffy, is there a list, it seems like I referred to, or a flyer to come out, or some kind of schedule that shows all this?
We're working on it.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, because every day we have people calling saying, you know, it's, you know, where do I sign up? Where do I, you know, we have a lot of people who, who've been at Community Day before and they're returning and they want their same spot.
Okay,
So this weekend we have a meeting, on Monday, and we know it'll be a long meeting because we're gonna have to walk Franklin, figure out where everybody's going, get a schedule of the events. I know like Fours is doing an event at their place in the morning, kids' activities, exercise, and like popcorn and balloons. So that sort of kicks off, I think that's one of the first activities, and then the farmer's market. We have a lot of great sponsors this year, so we'll be making sure that, you know, they're advertised as well in the community day tent at the library.
it would be helpful if you could tell us what kind of volunteer work you want on Friday, what kind of volunteer you work on Saturday morning,
Yeah.
what kind of volunteer you work on Saturday evening. All right? Just so
So,
we.
yeah, so Friday's just basically set up of the tables, getting everything laid out at the library. I think we'll have some like corn stalks and mums for decorating
Will that be
to
Friday
lay out.
evening?
Friday evening.
Okay,
We're thinking maybe starting around 3 o'clock, maybe 2 hours, if we get enough people just to set up the tables, put up some banners, get the layout, making sure that, you know, the bubble bus has access to where they need to go, the bouncy castle, all of that kind of stuff. Saturday, we'll need some volunteers all up and down Franklin Avenue, so when someone says, you know, I'm with, you know, the Boy Scouts of America, where do I set up? We can say you're in front of Stewart's,
Okay.
you know, the Senior Club Stewart's, you know, so we'll have people with maps down Franklin Avenue.
Okay.
So it's sort of just directing people on that day. Again, maybe helping them unload if they need help. And then Friday evening, it's everything will sort of take place at the library. So it's just cleanup at the library, breaking down the tables to make it easier for them to be returned, you know, cleaning up, that kind of thing.
all right.
And we would like extra trash cans out for the entire day up and down Franklin Avenue on that day, and some extra ones at the library. And then we just need to know, like, at the end of the evening, if we need to go tie them up, so, you know, they're not spilling out on Franklin or
Sure.
whatever we need to do to help
Okay.
with that. We need volunteers, so, yeah, that's it.
All right, any questions for Buffy?
Rain or shine.
Yes, question. It is rain or shine. If it does rain, we're gonna have most of the events at the library under the tent. I'm sure some people will cancel. I'm pretty sure the farmer's market will go on, and then we're gonna move most of the events right under the tent, and then the library will do some events in the library as well, which is great. We've been very gracious this year, so the pumpkin painting, all of that will still be going on, rain or shine. Okay. Too much to change in the rain, so fingers crossed.
Sure, okay.
So, that's it.
Okay, good, thanks for the update.
Yeah, thank you, I appreciate it.
Okay, Deirdre, any update from the county?
Yes,
Okay.
like your lofty agenda, I promise to be brief. At our legislative meeting on Monday night, last Monday, we did adopt the county's 10-year solid waste management plan. We are continuing with the waste to energy model. However, we are looking at ways to assist localities and municipalities and local governments with composting. We realize that composting on a local level is much more impactful than on a county level. And there's some pilot projects going on in the county now that we are looking at to, so we're gonna be trying to partner with some municipalities and looking at composting on a local level, just to obviously take some of the composting out of the burn plant.
Okay.
We also, at our last Monday meeting, passed a resolution allowing for the youth hunting permits. So the state offered it 2 years ago as a pilot project, and they were going to adopt it as the law, but they did not. So they've allowed counties to pass a resolution for 2 more years for youth hunting. So we did pass it. So the youth hunting in Dutchess County will be continuing for 2 more years as a pilot program. And then again, we hope the state will adopt it as a law. There have been 0 safety incidents with youth hunting since the last 2 years. So if that trend continues, we assume that it will continue. And then I just wanted to touch upon the village grant that was submitted that was rejected. Trustee Contino and Mayor Collopy reached out to me and asked me to reach out to the county planning department and get some background information on the grant. So I just want to report that we did get some follow-up information that I think was good, healthy information, and that you should look to it to apply for grants in the future. I think it was a good conversation.
Yeah.
And then I just wanted to touch upon Mayor Collopy and I worked together this month to assist some constituents at Greenbrier, able to get some of their personal belongings out that seemed to have been an issue getting, and I think that has been resolved. We worked with the county Deputy Ron Hicks, and he was able to coordinate with the owner of Greenbrier to allow people to get in to get their belongings.
Yeah, that was great. Actually, I just asked for help, and you came forward. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so that was it. If you have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer. But
Any questions? Anybody from the public? Any questions? Thanks, Deidre. Okay, Chief Boscardin.
Numbers, we'll do those first. Automatic fire alarms, we had 19. EMS calls at 48. Carbon monoxide calls, we had 2. 1 motor vehicle accident, 1 wires down call. We had 1 equine rescue, which I'll touch on in a minute. No fires and 2 forcible entry calls. NDP responded to 44 calls. Our 72 volunteer ambulance went out 4 times and was able to transport 1 time. The rest of the times, either NDP came back from previous calls and handled it. And out of all those EMS calls, 35 times fire department members were on scene to help, even though 72 wasn't. Mutual aid, we went 1 time for fire, 5 times for EMS. Received 1 call, which was the equine rescue from Patterson Fire Department, and we had EMS received 1 time where NDP was out and 72 wasn't able to get out. The equine rescue, I wasn't available for it. Deputy Chief Kevin Granger and Captain Race did a phenomenal job with that. Difficult situation. 1 difficult patient, which wasn't the horse. But beyond that, a very good outcome. The horse got removed out of the mud, which was up to its belly, no injuries on it. Everything went smoothly. Like I said, Patterson Fire Department has a equine rescue team. And they said we were doing an excellent job with what we had on scene. They were going to start making their way up here. Before they hit the county line, we had the horse out. So,
nice PR.
Based off that, after that call, I received multiple requests of hey, how'd you guys do it? And are you going to be doing any classes? No, are you going to teach about how you did? And kind of, we got lucky where we had a tow truck operator who had done it before and a vet on scene. Another vet in town has contacted me. They want us to host it now. They were going to try it, but I've been in contact with a vet from Michigan, Missouri, one of those. He travels the country and does large animal rescue. So we're in the spring. We're going to be looking to do a class on that, a 2-day rescue thing. They bring a trailer out where they can simulate a rolled over trailer with a cow stuck inside of it.
Oh,
They
wow.
they have a whole thing going around the country doing this.
So you went from novice to expert pretty quickly.
Apparently, so again, Kevin Granger and Tim Race did an excellent job running that call. So
Oh, nice. Very good. I have to ask, what's the 2 forcible entry?
one was a lockout for a resident who accidentally locked themselves out. We had an issue of that over at Bartel Place, thank you.
Oh, okay.
A couple residents were abusing it, and one of those was from last month where it was end of the month and one just happened
I
to
see.
fall into this
Okay.
month. The other one was for an EMS call.
All right.
Person falling and just couldn't get to their door to unlock it.
Okay.
So.
All right. Any questions for Don? From the public, any questions? All right, so the next topic I wanted to cover is the opening of the bids for the chiefs, the assistant chiefs new pickup. So could you go through those bids?
Sure thing. There.
So we've gone through the process before. Unfortunately, neither Don nor I realized that the procurement process requires us to go out to advertise the bids first. It's over $35,000. So we had to redo what we discussed last month. So what are the 2 bids that you got?
The first one is from Ruby Chevrolet right here in Millbrook.
Yeah.
Total of $71,697.50.
Okay.
And the second one is from 1075 Emergency Vehicles in New Jersey, and their total.
Hang on. The total is what?
Total is $79,772.
Okay. And you looked at the specs. Are you satisfied with Ruby's specs?
Yes.
Okay, so based on that, you want to select Ruby's?
Yes, as they are the lowest bidder.
Okay. And we did put it out for bid. We did get, it was just a third party that never responded with an actual quote. Who was that? The third quote?
The third quote was from Smithtown Chevrolet.
Yeah.
And we never received a bid from them for the sealed bids.
Okay. All right, so do I need a motion to accept that bid? How do we do that? Do we need a motion?
You need a motion.
Okay, good. Any questions about those 2 bids? This was in the budget. A little higher than we had in the budget, but it's in the budget.
I believe 75,000 was in the budget.
Well, this is a quote just for the vehicle, that doesn't count the.
Oh no, this is lighting,
it's everything.
graphics,
Okay. All
total
right, so
outfit.
the 71,000 actually is about on budget.
Yeah, it's
Okay,
about
that's good.
4,000 less than what we were planning on.
Any problems with us accepting that bid? All right, so I'll make a motion that we accept the bid from Rugies for $71,697.50. Need a second? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, good. What's your order in? It'll take about 3 months, you said?
Roughly, depending on, he was talking about ordering one of these Tahoes just to have on the lot, so depending on if he ordered it, and we talked about it,
Okay,
bump
good.
it down.
Return to me the paperwork there, so we fill out the rest of this form for the official record keeping, all right?
Sure.
Okay, anything else, Don?
That's all I've got.
Okay, Matt?
I don't have anything.
Nothing. You know, I gotta say, Dom, Ted was here for many years, and I really appreciate all the stuff that he did, but you stepped in, I gotta say, seamlessly. And from the get-go, I'm really happy with what you've been able to do as the new chief. So congratulations, job well done.
Thank
Keep up the good work.
Good job, Don.
Yeah, good job. Okay, thanks. Next, Officer Witt.
Good evening.
Good evening.
You'll see up here our monthly report for August. It's pretty bleak. The the incident numbers were way down. Again, as previously discussed, is mostly due to staffing issues throughout the summer. I also was absent for 8 days with my kids, so there was a lot of coverage issues, even covering my shifts while I was out of town.
Okay.
That being said, like compared to September already, which is like a partial month, we're already around 70 incidents for September. So it truly is reflecting, a staffing issue. In August, we had 26 open shifts or partial shifts. September, we had either have had or scheduled at 21 open or partial shifts, but as the October schedules rolled out, we're only looking at 6. So changing the shift minimums and the work that the board did should really close the gap on those open shifts. There's not a lot to speak to on those numbers. A couple traffic stops, a couple parking complaints. We finished up the summer school checks as we do school checks whenever it's in service. Any questions on the numbers that are up there? I mean, it's
Given that you've now got the computer, okay, no, I gotta ask about the car. Okay, I was gonna say, given that you now have the computer active in this second car, should we be seeing an increase in the number of tickets written on a monthly basis? I guess I would say I'd like to see an increase in the number of tickets that are written on a monthly basis, based on the fact that you've got.
I would also love to see that, but
Okay.
I don't know that we're in a position to be ordering
No, I don't
our
wanna order
officers to
Well,
be writing to.
now that it's more available to them.
I would assume that it would be hand in hand, but
Okay.
as you know, on my list here to address 7K250 is now out of service.
Okay.
So,
All right, so I'll follow.
so let's, I mean, if you don't mind, if we want
Yes.
to close this section, I
Yes.
can continue down my list.
Yeah, go ahead.
In response to what Mayor Collopy brushed on earlier with his executive session, he had also previously met with all of the officers to discuss concerns and issues they had within the department. So the mayor and I had a staff meeting with all the members, 2 telephonically and the rest in person. Back in early September. I think it went very well. It's the first time that in the 6 years that I've been in charge that I've had all of my officers in one meeting, and this was a stretch because we had to get 2 of them in by phone.
Sure.
But I believe it went very well. I think a lot of the concerns that were brought up to the mayor had already been addressed even before they were brought to me, and I think that a lot of positive feedback came out of that. Following up to that, the mayor and I had written out and provided to the officers the new expectations, which include the 6 shift minimum in regards to the raise that was offered. Further than that, previously there was nothing outlined for the shift minimum, so some of the guys were picking up the special details and considering that their shift, whether it was court or a football game, and that's now been clarified that they need to pick 6 regular shifts before they're picking any of the special details and or before partial shifts are available.
I'm sending down to the trustees a copy of the form you're using now, where you document what you expect, and you're getting them to sign it off. I think it's an excellent.
Yeah, so we've had a couple internal issues that I've now have compliance through most of the department. We had some non-compliance, so at this point, I'm done. We've put it in writing. Everyone's going to sign off and acknowledge their directives, their direct orders, and we'll go from there. So we're starting to clean up internally and move forward from this point on. In regards to Lexipol, I did receive several emails from them, one with a roadmap of what's gonna be happening. And Monday afternoon, I received an invitation to their webinar, so I'll forward that to you so that we can get that moving.
Do we have a date yet when we can start the actual
No,
one-on-one or one-on-two
The
review?
we're required to watch the webinar first.
Oh, is that right?
So
Okay.
that'll be our step one. That email came in late Monday afternoon.
Okay, good.
That's that. So now to the vehicles. In August, we did have the computer installed in the new car. I was slated to have state police come out and install the 2 programs we need them to put on it. But last Monday, 250 stopped functioning. So I had it towed to Ford because it's a 2-year-old vehicle with 20,000 miles on it. A follow-up with them is it needs a new engine, but it will be covered under warranty. So they're expecting the engine to come in, the new engine to come in either by the end of this week or early next week. They have the old engine out. So as soon as that comes in, they'll start putting in, they'll put in the new one. So at this point, I wouldn't expect that to be back till, I'd say, probably right around the beginning of October. If the engine doesn't come in until next week, then they're gonna need some time to put it in
Okay.
and whatnot. Now we'll speak to 251, the older of the 2. We've had many discussions here about what to do with that one. The last we had left off publicly was that we were gonna try to upfit the retired deputy chief's truck from the fire department. The calculations on that were gonna be about $10,000 to repair it and to upfit it to be a police car. And the last ballpark numbers to fix 251 were somewhere around 7. So the mayor and I had discussed it, and we thought that it was probably in the village's best interest just to fix 251, fix the police car we have, which is a lower bottom line, but then it also allows the village to auction the deputy chief's truck, and then when 251 reaches its end of service, we'll be able to auction that off, and hopefully, most likely recoup the money we put back into the transmission.
What's the risk is if we can actually get something close to.
Well, at this point, if we put it up to auction, we're maybe get 1,500, $2,000. If it's at least a functioning vehicle when it goes to auction, we stand a better chance to get some of the money back.
So I know we've been yin-yanging about this thing. I guess my question to the board is, what do you guys think? Dr. Mayor, what do you think about that? The latest proposal is that we go fix the old vehicle, fix the transmission, fix a variety of other cursory issues to make it roadworthy again.
I like the idea of having some retail value on the tail end, and it's already outfitted.
Right.
So we save money there.
Yeah.
And getting the other one back in service in a few weeks and getting that as a backup, I think, is a good middle ground.
It also turns around and gives you retail value on their retired truck also.
Okay. All right, so you support that?
I like it better than a brand new $80,000 Tahoe. So.
Okay, good. Anybody else? Comments? Trustees?
I agree.
Now,
It's middle ground.
Mike? Vicky?
Yeah, go ahead, Vicky.
No, I pretty much agree.
Okay.
now this is a Band-Aid
We
to
understand.
just kick us down the road, correct? Right. Like
And knowing my luck,
I'm not hoping that the
$7,000 later, something else will go on.
Somebody knock
Right.
on some wood.
Yeah,
here.
right. Okay.
So we would still be on schedule for within the next year and a half, 2 years, whenever the finances work to have that.
2 years, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're changing again, but that is the front up proposal we're recommending. Any comments from the public about this? Anybody have any opinion one way or the other? Anybody can repair transmissions? Okay. With that, I want to make a motion that we actually proceed to get the old vehicle, the 251, into Harry's to get the transmission et al. Repaired for about $7,000. Can you get a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, any opposed? Good, let's do that.
I'll make the appointment to get the once over and have them start ordering the parts now, so that
Good.
everything's there in wait for the
Alright.
return of 250.
All right, so Don, you got that? Then you guys can go into resell.
Yeah.
You can put it for auction years.
Once the loan shows
Yeah.
up, we'll.
Now, next month when we change back again, I'm just. Okay, so that's it. We're gonna go through that way. All
Yeah,
right, go
that's it. I mean, I just wanted to speak to the MIG grant officer, Cal Polhane, and Trustee Contino did a lot of work on that. That being said, we do have, in our proposal for that grant, we were hoping to get some everyday soft body armor that our officers wear covered in that. So I believe next year we are gonna have to look at that purchase for 4.
Okay.
So, it's a larger number, but just so you know, that's coming down the pipe.
Yeah, look, you're aware of a budget because of the whole thing, we all know that. So I don't like the idea of adding new things. However, if you got safety issues with the equipment you've got now, let's talk.
Yeah, they're due to expire, or they have.
Okay, so if that's an issue regarding the reliability of the equipment or the protections offered the officers, you need to tell us that. We need to have some discussions, okay?
That's
Okay.
why I brought it up.
Okay. I'll look you to bring that back to me one-on-one. We can decide what to bring to the board.
Absolutely. And the last thing I have to talk about is the no standing sign there on the corner of Church Street and Franklin Avenue seems to be highly effective. I've had only 3 incidents where people are parking either right behind it or next to it. But it really does open up the traffic flow on that corner.
Whose idea was that? Was that yours?
I believe that was Bob's.
Was that yours?
So
Yes.
Well done.
it's amazing because I've been here for 15 years and never have I seen anything like it. So
I actually went by and someone had double parked there, and by the time I got around the loop to come back to find out, it was gone. So I guess it wasn't there that long. But anyway, so good. Thanks.
that's
for that.
all I have.
Now, based on that, we had decided we wanted to do the same thing at the corner of Front and Franklin on both sides, right?
Yeah.
No, the discussion we had, I
Yeah.
think we were at the
Yep.
corner there. And so what I did was I'd asked George Whalen, who promised me that if the state law stop for pedestrians in the crosswalk sign got run over, that the tree guardian would pay for the replacement. And sure enough, someone did one.
Yeah, we're down one of them. Yeah.
So we're down one.
Correct.
And I asked him if he could also add into his remuneration to us the cost of the 2 no standing signs, and he said he would. So I'll follow up with George, but he promised that tree guardian would pay for replacement of the, stop for crossing pedestrians and the addition of the 2 no standing signs. So we'll follow up on it.
Excellent.
Any questions for Officer Witt?
I just have.
Yes.
OIC Witt, thank you so much for those memos. I think they're great. I really appreciate them. I really appreciate the conversations we've had individually and as a group. I'm excited about MPD kind of turning over a new leaf, for lack of a better phrase. We have high expectations of you guys, and we want to equip. I want to equip you, and I'm sure everyone agrees, with the appropriate personnel and equipment and compensation that's befitted of an organization. With that comes great responsibility, though, and so I'm excited that we're all kind of on the same page, maybe for the first time in a while, and excited to move forward in a positive direction for the betterment of the village.
Absolutely. Good point. I like that.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Any comments from the public about the police report? All right, thank you very much, Officer Witt. Bob, let's go on to highway.
Okay. The 2 major things that were accomplished in this last month, we had the paving of Reservoir Drive, and yesterday we had Valley Farm and Safari Drive oil and stone. There's still some work to do on both. There will be a sweeping of Valley Farm and Safari on Monday to get the excess stone up, and that will be taken care of. As far as reservoir goes, we built in curbs along pretty much the whole street because of the drops in the sidewalks and the drops of the property. That's going to be filled in with topsoil and seeded when there's an appropriate time for it. We wanted to do it this week, but we've got torrential rains coming on Saturday.
Oh, really?
And it just washed out. So I want to do it where we have a good time frame. I know some people were questioning why we left those curbs there like that, but there was a specific reason for doing that.
So the idea is we're going to have from the curb to the sidewalk a tapered
Right.
grass.
So there won't be any fall off from it.
There'll be no step off, yeah, okay.
Exactly. And there were some other spots along the road too where the grass is at such an angle that we had to
You're going to fill it in with dirt?
Fill that in with dirt.
Okay.
So we'll be taking care of that.
All right.
The brush pickup has been over, although we did some more today.
Okay.
Leaf pickup begins October 1st, ends November 30th.
Wow.
Again, we stress leaves only, no brush, grass, or debris. Hitchcock Farms is gracious enough to accept the leaves, and they recycle them, and they really don't want grass and debris and sticks mixed in. The leaves are picked up with a machine and a vacuum, and it really wreaks havoc on the vacuum when there's rocks and brush and things mixed in. So hopefully people will follow those guidelines, and those are everywhere, I believe, right? Your newsletters and.
I'll make sure we put the newsletter, yeah.
Just make sure it is everywhere now, but
okay.
Again. I have noticed and have spoken to a few people in the last few days that are running their sump pumps right into the street again. This is a hazard, and it's also a pain in the neck for us because we have to come out and salt those single spots at various times. And all that does is mess up the sanders for one house. And some people have taken our advice, and some don't understand it, but we'll be watching out for that.
Don't we have a law?
Yes, there is, but.
All right, so then you're going to talk to him first, I assume.
I have talked to.
But then you need to give me a list of whoever's not complying, and we'll send an official notice.
It can be a real danger. I mean,
yeah, sure.
When it comes out, it's fine that the snow melts, but at night it's going to freeze up again.
Yeah.
And
it's a safety hazard.
And it really shouldn't be running directly into the street anyway.
I understand what you're saying. It's a problem, but what's the option for them?
They need to take care of it themselves. They need to figure out how to do drainage for themselves, or you know, we had that big problem up on Linden, and where they were literally filling up the entire corner from their sump pump, and we asked them to figure out a way, and they had to rerun it into their stream, and it solved the problem in no time. So the homeowners have to figure out something. It's not something we can do for them because it's their property.
So if they don't have a stream, they have to figure out somewhere to get it into one of the drains?
No, they have to figure out a drainage system on their own property. It's really not supposed to be going into.
It can't be run to a dry field, or it can't be to a dry well.
It's not really the village's issue.
Yeah.
It's not.
So I'm just thinking on Pate Avenue where we
You can't
are,
run it into the sewer.
it's a big drainage problem, so where does the water drip?
You know, some people have extended that pipe almost right to the road, where if they shortened it to the middle of their property, at least it gives it an area to suck in. They can put stone down, a dry well is the ultimate
Right.
way to do it. I mean, but some people, I feel bad for them because some people have sump pumps running 24/7. The people on Linden, it just runs whether it doesn't rain for 2 months. It's continually running into that stream, and it's clean water, but that was something that would really cause a big problem, as everybody knows, on Linden. So that's stopped since they moved that. But unfortunately, there's so much shale and rock in the village that you can go to any bunch of catch basins and there's water running, and it hasn't rained. So we don't want them, like you said, going into the sewers at any cost, and I'm sure some do. But that's kind of hard to police.
I mean, individuals who've got issues they can talk to, like either Bob or even to Ken Rockland, but sometimes, like the guy in Linden, really needed a professional to come in.
Yeah, I mean, he needed to move his entire.
Yeah, it depends on the situation.
That was a hole. His basement, it was just constantly, and it constantly runs 24/7. I have no idea what the sump pump costs to be running it all, every day. But they did take care of it for us, and it solved a major problem there. So we'll watch out for that. I spoke to a guy right on your street, one of your neighbors, that he moved it so it was going to run right into the street, and I told him that he needs to do something a little different. So he's going to. Hopefully that works. Okay. Any questions on the reservoir or the oil and stone?
No, any questions from the public about what's going on with Reservoir? And,
Beautiful job.
Thank you.
big improvement, yeah.
Yeah, they did, the company did a great job.
The Valley Farm in Sephir was just oil and stoned on Monday, or Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Yesterday.
Yeah.
Right.
And
that's why they'll pick it up a week from now. So for the next week, you got to drive really slow because it's fresh, stone there. But in a week, they'll vacuum up all the loose stone and make it more easy to drive over.
Unfortunately, there's water running on Valley Farm also, and you can see where it's already, this oil and stone's not going to stick to it. But luckily, it's very close to the property, so it shouldn't affect the integrity of the road at all. Okay. We're going to be doing catch basin vacuuming on September 26th. When is the day we spoke of? Okay.
Hey, Bob, is that we hire a company to come do that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that will include we had a complaint from someone, I forget the specifics, but you said you'd have the guy take care of that one? Okay.
They'll be doing a variety of different
Okay,
ones.
good. So you got a specific number of
ones that we didn't do 2 years ago.
Yeah, okay, good.
Last year we weren't able to.
Because I thought the date was going to be like 9/11, so it moved to 9/26.
9/26.
Okay, good.
That no parking sign at the deli.
No standing.
Standing, rather, same thing. Those, you do have to realize that they're going to be coming in for the winter, or being moved for the winter.
Sure.
Because of plowing.
Yeah.
We might be able to figure out a way to put them out when the roads are clear or there's no snow, but we'll have to see how that works out.
Okay.
But that seems to have solved a huge problem over there.
Yeah.
Another problem that we were having at the deli was that we had 2 municipal trash cans there, and people who sit out there and eat were complaining that the bees and the flies, you couldn't sit out there, and the garbage was overflowing. So we took them away, and lo and behold, there isn't a stitch of garbage on the street. People are realizing they have to take it with them, or bring it to another.
Well, I thought Marcus asked that they bring the trash into his.
He told people that they could during business hours, obviously bring whatever they were eating or drinking back in. But a lot of people, I guess they've been doing that. There has been no can there, and the same thing was at the post office. When that one was taken away, no garbage whatsoever. So I think that was a real positive on that corner, and I know Marcus is very happy about it. So we're going to leave it. I think we should just leave it that way.
Okay.
No one seems to be, I pick up the garbage in the streets, and that corner's been good. And we'll have to see how the other ones don't seem to be overflowing.
So, not yet, no, I don't see
Right.
that. As long as we agree to put out the extra cans for like 3 weekend special events.
That's a separate thing. Yeah. And I think it's also stopped people from putting their household garbage in those pails. Because it's not right there where the apartments are. It's not available to them anymore, so they can use their own. Okay. Something that the board is going to need to address, and I don't know if you guys have been thinking about it yet, but as everyone knows, or as the board knows, the sidewalk plowing is no longer going to happen. As far as the person who's doing the plowing, he's decided not to do it this year. After 20-something years, I think he's had about enough of it. And so Matt, who did a fantastic job, way above and beyond what anyone would do, has decided to sleep at night.
Well, let me reword it that Matt has decided to retire from it. We need to find an alternative to have a Matt being out there. Now,
Correct. So
equivalent to Matt's diligence is going to be well nigh impossible, but we are looking to either get an individual or a company to come and do what job Matt was doing.
Okay, so that's what you guys need to decide what you want to do as far as that goes.
Right.
But like I said, I can't see the same results than what Matt had,
Of course not.
unfortunately.
But we're going to do what we can to
people are going to have
maintain the
to
sidewalks.
be a little bit tolerant of that and pitch in on their own to keep the sidewalks clear. We are one of the only villages that even have sidewalk plowing.
Okay.
I've called 5 or 6 that don't do it, so we need help. We might, you guys are going to need help getting this done.
Yeah, we're working on it.
All right. Okay, the new truck that we have been looking into since February. I've finally gotten 2 Ford dealers that finally got back to me that now they can order the F550.
Okay.
No one else seems to be able to do that or doesn't want to put a bid in. One is the dealership in Jersey that has been providing us with the last 2 trucks, and one is a more local dealer. But what they've quoted me is way above what the New Jersey dealer is.
But wait, we've already gone out to bid for this, haven't we?
Nope.
We haven't.
No.
Okay, so we got to go through the same process we did for the
Well, I mean,
Assistant Chief's truck.
you've got two dealerships that are interested.
We still got to put a public notice
Right,
out.
that's fine.
All right, so we meet with Sarah on Monday just to give her the information she needs to publicize
And
that.
it needs to be done quickly because
Sure.
I don't know how long they're going to have these
I understand.
trucks.
Okay,
You know.
we got to go through the process.
As far as that goes, we'll bring those prices back when we get when they send the bids in. But I think we should do this as quickly as possible so that they're still available.
Yep.
I don't know why there's such a shortage or such a demand, but that's the reality.
All right.
Are you going to address the sidewalks?
The grinding?
Yes.
Yeah, actually, last year we paid, $12,000 to do a variety of sidewalks around the village to get them ground down. I asked Bob to go out to the vendor again. Turns out that vendor went out of business, Bob, is that right?
No, they were bought up.
Oh, they're bought up, okay. So we had to go to a new vendor, and Bob had him come and do a visit along the Franklin. He got only as far as the business district last year, and asked him to complete the run up Franklin to the top of the hill. And the quote we received was $13,000, as I recall, for that. I sent a note to the trustees with that. The problem we have is that with the sidewalk work on the south of Franklin, we've been using the money in the budget along with the community development block grant to fund that activity. Basically, the budget number has been used to fund the engineering work, which is not covered by the grant. Right? We pretty much used all that money up. So I'd be interested in doing this grinding, except right now there's no money in the budget for it. Okay. So my recommendation is we hold off this year while we complete the concrete work on the south side between Front and Fenway. Does the board agree with that? Any problem with that?
No, I agree.
Okay. The second thing was, okay, so basically, Bob, we'll hold off on it.
Yep.
And by the way, if we get towards the end of the year, of the fiscal year, and we find that we've got money available, that's on my list of things we need to continue to do anyway. So I'd like to find the opportunity to spend that money, to use that money, but right now we don't have it. So if you can tell the guy that we'll hold off until we can find the wherewithal in our budget to fund it, which may not be until next fiscal year.
And just to let people know, we can't, with this company, who is really pretty much one of the only companies that does this, we can't say, okay, we'll only do half of them today, this year. They have a minimum. They bring equipment in from Buffalo, so they're not going to come down here for $4,000 or $5,000. He quite honestly told me, okay, you need 2 more to make the minimum.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Yeah.
I like the idea of just finishing Franklin, which would be nice to be able to do.
Well, yeah, that was the minimum. Yeah, you know.
All right. So bottom line is, right now we can't afford it, but we'll look for the opportunities in the future.
Okay.
All right.
I kind of prefaced that when we did this.
Yeah, sure. Anyway. One of the things I wanted to talk about was the trimming of the trees along the business district in Franklin.
Yes.
You got a quote from Alan William to trim the trees?
Yes, $10,000.
$10,000, okay. Allotment for the year already. I think it's too early for us to decide to go on and do that, given that winter's coming, trees will fall down, there'll be storms or whatever. I'd recommend we hold on that until the business district for sure.
They haven't been trimmed in 8 years.
Was that right? 8 years? Okay.
There's some that are actually touching people's windows.
Yeah, we haven't received any complaints yet. If you walk down the street, you can see there's definitely need for it.
Well, we had one.
Oh, we did have one?
Yeah, Lomagina.
Oh, it wasn't a complaint, it was just an observation. But anyway, okay.
Okay.
One other thing, Bob, just before you're done, I want to just make a note to you. One comment from the contractor that we did the walkthrough with, Mike will talk about it later, regarding the redoing the sidewalks. He said for the next year, we can't put any salt on those sidewalks, on the fresh sidewalks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, you know that?
Yeah, because it'll eat right into the concrete.
Right, because spawning and things like that. The sand that you use on the street, oh, I guess this is the state.
We don't put salt on the sidewalk.
Do we put salt? Does the
The
state
state
put salt?
salts the street.
They salt the street.
Now, Matt puts down calcium, which is
He said
salt.
even that's no good.
No, it's not.
Right.
I was gonna say he can't. So again, we have to let the business people know.
Yeah.
If they do it themselves, they're going to have to use. There is a product that isn't harmful, but if he said nothing,
Well, he said sand.
Why don't you use highway sand? Yeah.
What's that?
Highway sand. Just to,
Yeah,
like
they
trash
could use
just to.
Isn't there some type that's doesn't? It's like
It doesn't work. But
Yeah.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. It sucks.
It's not
pet
salt,
friendly.
but it's it's pet
Yeah.
friendly, and it's not supposed to be corrosive. What it is, it's just it corrodes right into the concrete, and it'll.
So we'll make sure we get the message out to all the business owners along there, once the concrete's done, that they can't put salt down, at least for the next year. Yeah, Mike?
Yeah, my suggestion would be we identify the source of what we want business owners to put down and purchase it ourselves. because if we leave it up to the business owners, you know, one person may get this particular brand not knowing that it's gonna be corrosive, someone else gets a different brand. I think it's gotta be uniform. And the last thing we want after spending almost $200,000 on the sidewalk is to come back in a year and find what looks like potholes all over the cement, and someone's gonna say, I didn't know. And, you know, that's inevitable. If we get one product, we make it available to the business owners and say, this is what we want you to use, then I think that'll solve a myriad of potential problems.
Okay, I think it'd be worthwhile investment for the village just to prevent damage in the concrete.
It's a
Okay.
cheap investment.
Yeah.
Too.
I
To get aggregate, it's cheap.
Okay.
It's not highway sand. It's not.
Is it bagged? Is it available?
No, you can get it in a dump truck and drop it.
Well, I know.
Chevy load.
Or you can make real bricks.
Yeah, but if you store it somewhere,
bucket from them, but
they got it.
They'll have
store
it
it
back.
somewhere and then they can grab it.
Yeah,
When
okay,
they need
fine.
it because they're just gonna go for
I
bags.
just have one question on that.
Yes.
It's about the cleanliness of it. I have a business on Main Street. I have a few retail stores that I rent to, and it's gonna be a product that's gonna get real dirty.
Oh.
We don't want it. You know, I mean, it's gonna attract mud into stores and businesses, restaurants, whatever's on the streets. So you gotta be careful with what you're gonna put in there.
Okay.
You know, and as far as, it's the same thing with the trees on the avenue, you know, we have a big problem with that, you know, as far as the leaves and touching the buildings. You know, I saw a few buildings and I knew they were gonna get trimmed, so I haven't made an issue of it, but they're really starting to get to the point where they're hitting my building as long as, you know, I have a couple buildings on Main Street, and they're hitting them and becoming a nuisance.
So Joe, we know it's a problem. We know it needs to be addressed. We'll look at it probably in the spring.
Okay.
From a budget point of view to see what we've got the money to do.
And just one other thing.
Yeah.
If we can look into something about the vultures that are in the village. I have a problem with them because they're eating, on one of my buildings, they're eating the roof. I just spent $40,000 last year putting a new roof on the building, and they're targeting, I know there's a couple other people in the village, they're targeting rubber roofs. They literally sit there and eat the rubber. And we're talking 20, 30 vultures at a clip coming onto these roofs. And they're tearing it. And, you know, if we could see some way to, and I've done everything. I've put, you know, scare birds up there. I've done the strips, everything. But it's just, you can't get rid of these things. They have no fear of that kind of stuff.
Look, I'll
and they make
contact
a
you.
mess.
Look, I was in contact with the guy from the USDA who said he had ideas, but they were, I mean, he was going to string like dead vultures along the top of it and scare the things away.
Purge.
That was like his idea.
You know, I mean, it's
Well,
an
look,
issue.
let me contact him. I'll get him in touch with you. The three of us can talk and see what options we have. I haven't seen the vultures around. So they're around.
Oh yeah, they were.
Okay.
I got a call yesterday morning after the rain.
The best option is you've got to get people to close their dumpsters.
Oh.
And that's what's happening.
I mean,
I see
it's-
open dumpsters everywhere.
Yeah.
And they're attracted to food mostly, so they're in the area because there's food. And
I mean, they're sitting. We know where they're sitting in the high pines and stuff like that.
Yeah, they are
I mean,
high
there's-
pines, right.
You know, when they ripped down Bennett, they were living in there.
Oh.
So they moved into the village, and I mean, they're just here. But there's got to be a way. I mean, it's a pretty good expense, you know, that I go through every couple
Sure.
months to patch the roof again.
Look, I'll get us together with the guy from the USDA. We'll talk about it.
Okay.
I mean, last time he was
I know
here.
we've tried, I mean, I've gone online, tried a couple things they have there. It just does not work. And I mean, it's wild because they literally tear it and just tear it. And I mean, and you can't get it with your bare hands. You can't tear it, but they got the beaks. And once they get a piece started, boom.
Okay.
It rips.
Oh, by the way, they're a protected species too. I found out. Right.
That's
Right.
sorry.
Okay. Look, Joe, I'll come back to with you.
Get in trouble.
Yes.
I would just say on the business district's trees, I think for the next fiscal year, that project should be first in line before we start cutting down people's trees because they want us to or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
We
Okay,
should
fine.
take care of those.
All right, I agree.
first.
Hopefully we can get some money at the end.
Keep in mind, and I know I sent you the email about you know the process of what we go through. If a resident calls and the tree that we're talking about within 25 feet of the center of the road, and it turns out to be the village tree, and they say this tree is dead, I want it down as soon as possible, and we say we'll get to it as soon as we can, and we don't get to it, and the tree comes down and literally does severe damage or worse, then we have a liability issue. Because once they have told us in writing that it's a significant problem and we ignore it, then we lay ourselves open for a lawsuit. So we really have to be very careful on it, saying, well, the residents want the trees down, they can just wait, they go on a separate list. It's not that simple, it's a lot more complicated. And we've been working on that basis for quite a long time now. Take down the trees which we consider dangerous, and we've even had certified arborists come in and look at trees, do soundings, and make a recommendation before we take a tree down. And if there's any way that we can save it by trimming instead, that's a possibility. We prefer that to taking it down. But once an arborist says this tree is hollow, this tree is dangerous, I recommend you take it down. There's not a whole lot of options after that unless you're going to roll the dice. So
Again, because we're getting into a safety issue. And that's
if you're getting
something,
into a safety issue,
that's beyond the budget.
Yeah.
So can I just ask if we were to ask to see the records of the arborist determinations for the trees that have come down?
In
that
most
would be
cases, they don't turn in a report. It's done on site with people from the Shade Tree Commission, as well as usually the mayor and myself or anyone else who's on site to look at the trees, and they give us their opinion. It's not something where they turn in a certified report. So I couldn't get you back to a file that has the
So there's nothing in writing confirming that the trees are dead?
No.
What about the minutes of your Shade Tree Committee meetings? Or do you recognize in there which trees were agreed to be taken down?
Well, we talk about trees that need to be looked at. The procedure that we have for taking down trees, which Heather's well aware of, because she was instrumental in making suggestions to revise the policy.
Well, it's not clear to me that it's actually happening. That's why I'm asking.
Well, there's a certain trust issue there, okay? This is not, the point I'm trying to make is this is not arbitrary. It's not a matter of saying, yeah, I don't like that tree, let's take it down. Or there's things about it that become a subjective issue. There are things about it that are basically based on fear of danger, not anything else, all right? So we do have, as I said, certified arborists who come in and volunteer the time to do it. Okay? And that's why I said you have to be careful about what you say, when recommendation is made, that if you're going to say, okay, fine, roll the dice, you better make very sure that it's not going to come down on somebody's roof or take down or crush a car or, God forbid, hurt someone physically. So,
I hear what you're saying. As a taxpayer who's helping to pay the bill to cut all these trees down, I really appreciate a paper trail.
that's not that.
It doesn't need to be a fancy report. It could just be an email from a professional that says such and such a tree.
So the volunteer people who are doing this, who are both village residents, by the way, with this certification, who are volunteering the time aren't good enough. They have to be able to put in a report.
No, so Mike, let's do, how about this? Hey, Mike, what about as part of your regular Shade Tree Committee meetings, you simply document what the consensus is of the committee members regarding each tree, and you can reference a discussion with the arborist if that actually happened.
We do that already.
Fine. So
we don't take down any trees unless every board member on the Shade
That's part
Tree
of the
Commission
process.
has looked at the tree.
And do you document that in your minutes? Is what I'm asking.
I could get a list of where the trees are that we've taken down.
No, I'm saying, going forward, I'm asking, can you then
going forward,
include
sure.
in your minutes any decisions made by the committee, which you said is a unanimous decision about taking down a tree? Why shouldn't that cover a trail? It doesn't cover a certified report from an arborist. There would be a documentation by the Shade Tree Committee, who we look to making those decisions.
You're looking at after the fact.
That's fine.
If we have a tree coming down in March, we don't meet till April, it'll be in the April.
That's fine, but just
want to make sure that's
before the tree comes down, you've got a process that says you've all looked at it, you've each looked at it and agreed that it should come down.
And what if the trees are,
Correct.
if they're diseased, they perhaps, potentially they should have priority and be removed, and the pit left open for X amount of years. So is there any information about that from the arborist, or?
We've had,
It's all verbal.
we've had two trees taken down just this past year that were ash
Oh, they were diseased?
and they were diseased, and that's why they were taken down, right on Elm Drive by the school playground. Okay, and that was done in the last 3 months, I believe.
Yeah, this summer.
This summer, and that was done the last. So, whether we put a tree back there or not will depend entirely on, when we put a tree back, we also take requests from the community, if people want to have trees back. We try to make sure that if someone who has lost a tree, because it's been taken away from the property, gets priority over someone who does not, just has a vacant space and would like a tree, so to speak. And before we pick an Arbor Day tree site, we generally sit with an arborist and be able to say, this is where we want to put the tree, any recommendation. And I just wanted to say, one of the arborists who has worked for us in the past for the last 2 years, has donated the tree that's gone in for arbor at his own expense. So we try to be very precise in what we do.
All right, so Mike, if you'll agree to have that as part of the change between minutes. Any decisions about any tree removals?
Sure.
All right, great, appreciate it.
One more thing on
Yes.
the trees on Franklin, the trimming of the trees on Franklin. That
Yeah.
price includes both sides of the trees, not
Sure.
just the business sides of the trees. Right now, we have tractor trailers taking branches down.
Oh, you mean it includes the side in the street?
Yeah, it's trimmed all the way around.
Oh.
I mean, it's a nice cover, but you got tractor trailers knocking down branches all the time. So that price is for everything, to do
Okay,
the whole.
but we want both sides done, I mean, that's.
Right, no, both sides of the street, but not just the,
Both sides
that
of
are
the tree.
touching the businesses, this is.
Roadside and.
Yeah, sure, okay,
The entire tree.
all right. Any more questions for Bob? Anybody from the audience, any more questions or comments? Hey, thanks, Bob. Okay, Scott.
All right, for August, the water system,
Okay, fine.
did all routine maintenance and sampling, replaced 2 water meters, replaced fire hydrant on Elm in front of the school. We had a water main break on 44 just west of Valley Farm, which it was a 6-inch main that was cracked, and we had to replace a 2-foot section. And we also replaced a curb valve at 30 Elm Drive.
Okay. Any questions about the water report? Any other questions, comments? Okay. Oh, here's a picture. Here's the break.
Well, you saw it.
I saw it firsthand, yeah. The left-hand side is a crack, goes about, what's that, about 2 feet?
Almost 2 feet.
Yeah. Wonder how long it's been leaking.
Quite a while.
Yeah.
It's the last one.
And the right side is the repair.
Correct.
Okay. All right, and there's the monthly averages for water through the system. Okay, sewer.
All right, August, all maintenance and sampling. We emptied and cleaned both secondary clarifiers. We built a manhole on Elm Drive. And as you previously mentioned, Harold had completed the sewer main lining work that was within our budget for the capital improvements. So, it's 790 feet roughly.
And it took them how long? Was that a day?
It took them a day, but they actually had to come back because their supervisor wasn't happy with the way they left it. They didn't clean it when they were all done. the way he wanted it, so,
All right,
which I told him I appreciated that.
good. Now, can you talk about the sewer cleaning you were doing, the flushing?
Last week, and
Yeah.
the week before, we were doing sewer main flushing, yeah.
Right. So we had a variety of complaints. People,
On Pilgrim Lane, yes.
okay. So two levels. First off, we didn't give them advance notice.
Correct.
Why is that?
Well, the way the village is set up, you got the alleyways, you got Pilgrim Lane and Belletry, and there's others, but those two primarily, so they go out the back.
Mm-hmm.
So if you live on Merritt Avenue, and the sewer goes out the back, you live, so it'll go out to Pilgrim Lane from one side, and it'll go behind Village Hall, essentially, on the other. So if we don't specify that, we just put down where we're working.
Oh.
So, and I had this conversation with one of the homeowners on Maple Avenue where we had the problem, and what we decided going forward is to similar when I put out the notice for when we do hydrants or shut down the water for whatever purpose, we not only say where we're working, but where it will affect. So when we do the sewer main flushing next year and years forward, when we put out the notice, so we'll notify where we're going to be plus what areas it'll affect. So if it affects Maple Avenue and we're working on Pilgrim Lane, it'll be worded that way.
Now, did we put out a notice earlier, and then we went back and did some more flushing after the fact?
We didn't. I didn't put out a notice this year
at all.
I totally forgot.
Okay, we did after the.
I posted a thing about flushing from 9/3 to 9/6, whatever it was.
Originally we had it set up for the Wednesday through a Friday the previous week, but they couldn't come on that Friday because they got called away on emergency. So they came back last Wednesday.
I see. And the notice we sent out didn't cover the return? Is that true?
I didn't.
Yeah,
Okay.
everything was, yeah.
All right, so people were not aware of it. The other problem I got is, so when we do the sewer flushing, you're using pressure to push stuff through the line. And if you get to an obstruction, it sounds like you increase the pressure.
That's the process.
And is that when the problem occurs? After you've increased the pressure?
Yeah, well, there's multiple variables. Pressure being one. If they're going uphill, sometimes, and I haven't. Everything's you can go through a whole street and never have a problem, and then you can go to another one, you'll have 3 problems. But houses right next to each other, you'll have one, and then 2 other houses, and there will be no problem. So I don't know if it's a venting problem. That's been brought to my attention that it could be a venting problem in the house. It's possible that the close proximity to the sewer line, in some of the cases on Pilgrim Lane, some of the houses are probably within 10 feet of the sewer line, whereas other roads, the house could be 30, 40, 50 feet off the road, and you don't have a problem. So there's a lot of variables as far as when it happens, and you don't know when it's going to happen.
Okay. What I was thinking of is, so not knowing what the variables are, but you're doing the normal pressure, cleaning, you hit an obstruction, you can increase the pressure. Before you increase the pressure, is there a way that you can snake a line or something to try to clear the obstruction before you just increase the pressure?
I don't know about snaking it. You're talking about an 8-inch pipe.
Right. Well, I don't know what they're trying to blow through, but.
Roots?
Oh, roots. Oh, okay.
You want to go to your tree issues, there's roots and sewer lines, but.
I'm just thinking.
Well, most of the time, that's what the issue is with roots. I mean, there's other times like we did Front Street, and we got a lot of rocks and pieces of pipe and such. So, you get that stuff.
I see.
And in order to get that down the line to where we can clean it out, so they sit in a manhole, and if you go 200 feet up, you got to push that stuff all the way back so you can get it cleaned out, so it prevents any future obstructions, which is the whole purpose of cleaning.
We're trying to.
Yeah.
fix it when it's a small problem as opposed to wait
Correct.
for a big problem. That's smart.
So it's, it's kind of a catch-22. So if you have that stuff in there, you got to get it out, right, to prevent a bigger problem. In order to do that, you got to be able to flush it down. And sometimes you got to get the water flowing enough to do that.
I just would ask you to figure out if there's any other way that we can mitigate, or reduce the chances of people's having these backups in their toilets.
Well, you could choose not to clean them.
Well,
I mean, that's an option.
is there something between that and what you're doing?
I mean, the best way to clean them is to flush them out.
I know.
For an 8-inch line, you kind of need water pressure or whatever.
You do, and then
it's not gonna.
if you
can't
get down
have
the
a
front
drill or a
street,
big snake.
right? If you get down the front street, you got
around, you know. That's not
10-inch pipe.
That's not big enough.
It's not big enough. You need something.
It's not going to clean out the debris that's in there.
Mhm.
I mean, the other purpose for cleaning them is to, when we do our camera work, which we're required to do,
Mhm.
we can see things. So if it's all dirty in there, you can't see a crack in the pipe
Yeah.
that easily. Plus, it takes a lot longer to do the camera work. We can't cover as much ground because everything if debris or anything in obstructions in there, and then believe it or not, there's cobwebs in there, and you have to turn the camera all the time, and you can't see anything. So, the flushing serves a dual purpose: cleaning, preventive maintenance, preventing a larger problem in the village, and also allowing the camera work to go smoother, so we can see where there is a problem, so we can go and fix it, which we've been doing. There's not an easy solution.
I think if we do a better job of notifying and educating people beforehand, that it'll reduce 90% of these issues, and it's a cost of doing business, of having a sewer in the village. So
Prefer that municipal water and sewer than your own well and septic, you know.
And I
You get the benefits of that, so.
I've been notating those particular places that we've had major problems. There's been some minor ones as well, but I know we had a problem at your house a couple of years ago, and so we try to make adjustments when we're doing the work.
When's the next time you plan to do more sewer flushing?
Next year.
Next year. Okay, fine.
But we do it every year,
Mm-hmm.
and I try to do approximately 20 to 25% of the system every year. So basically, we get to each area once every 4 years, roughly speaking, depending on what we run into. And by doing it as often as you're doing it every 4 years, it doesn't take as long if we keep it clean and there's not as much stuff. Like when we started this 6-7 years ago, it took longer because there's a lot of debris, a lot of roots, and all of these. We've been routinely doing this. Plus, when we find a problem after we've done the camera work, we fixed it with winding the pipes, and then that makes it go easier because now you don't have the roots getting in there.
Right.
So.
I think you're looking at a system that's, 100 and some odd years old.
1932, so yeah.
It's 100 years old, and I mean, 100-year-old sewer pipe is, back then it's not, they were put in and they're not what they are today.
Sure.
So you're gonna have some major problems just from that.
All right, so I think Deputy Mayor is right. We need to do more to advance notice. I think we can expand the area of concern.
Right. And I've made those notes to, when we do it again, to make those adjustments to our notifications.
Okay. And if there's any way we can better.
Yeah, I mean, again, when the guys come out, this is what they do, so they know, and I, will communicate that to them.
Okay, good.
Work with them on.
And we have a record of who are the problem places.
Yeah, I've been keeping notes,
good.
Over the last several years.
All right, fine. Any other questions for Scott regarding the sewer?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
So, you and I talked about the resident and the legal evidence, and I think that you told me that it's not impossible, but pretty rare that there is that backwash.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
it's like I said, we did Alden Church, Washington, Front Street, Pilgrim, and Pilgrim Lane was, for whatever reason, we had a number of complaints there. Now, I know on the one section where these two homeowners we were going uphill in order to get uphill, you gotta increase the pressure to push it uphill.
So they're
So
like,
that's,
Ah.
so there's,
again.
Oh,
like if you're going down Church Street, you got a nice general grade,
Mhm.
go Vermillion is like this,
okay.
you know, it's steep. So there's, you know, there's, like, again, there's multiple, you know, things to deal with there.
So my question is, I think notice is a great idea, because that was her main
Certainly.
complaint.
Certainly.
But, so in my mind, I was thinking, well, if you got notice, what are you supposed to do? Clear the area in case there's backwash, or what would the notice, what would you do when you got notice?
I mean, if you close the toilet lid for one,
Yeah.
would help.
It's not backing up onto people's floors, right? It's just moving the
Oh,
toilet. Is that-
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
it's,
it is.
Drains, yeah.
yeah.
But it was soapy water. I was afraid to
It's-
open the photo, but.
Usually, what I've ever seen is just the
Is
water.
that just one person?
Well, up there, and then there was a couple other places where they had less of an issue, I guess.
Just water.
Just
Yeah,
water.
water.
In my office.
And up here had.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
And this was after I talked to Scott, and I still didn't close the lid, so that's definitely on me.
So yeah, so and I had a gentleman come out of one of the I don't know where, one of the offices there off of Church Street. You know, you hear the rumbling in the lines because but again, some of that, a lot of those are in closer proximity to the line too. So how to prevent it? I mean,
check valves on every single.
well,
Wow. Yeah.
if you want to go to that extreme, but then you got other problems.
I don't know about preventing, I was just figuring, just wanted to learn for the public,
Mm-hmm.
what to do.
Yeah.
Well, let's make sure next year that we do a
Do
lot of
some
advanced
research
notice.
too, see if there's.
Yeah,
you
it
know,
can't hurt to find out if there's other things we've
Throw a
done.
lot of towels on the floor and.
I mean, mine, as you said, mine was because of a blockage I had on my side, which
Right.
I don't was anxious for it to happen again to see if I fixed it or not, but
Right.
it'll be interesting to see. I'll for sure close the door with it.
A couple more years.
I'd suggest
we're
that.
back there.
Okay, good, let me know. Okay, anything else from Scott on sewer? Any other comments or questions? Okay, good, let's move on.
Tim, can I,
Yeah.
one thing I just want to mention on my report. The people who aren't familiar with the oil and stone is, that's not an alternative to paving the street. It's not a cheaper alternative, it's a preventive maintenance item. It's for a street that's been paved within the last 10 years to prevent cracking, which when you have cracking, that's where the water gets under the street, and that's where you get potholes, and that's where the street goes. So the oil and stoning is basically a preventive maintenance, not a.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Actually, asked this before. So, having said that, hopefully Anson Avenue is on the docket.
Not next year, no.
I think maybe it should, in the near future.
Well, if you look at Washington Avenue and a few of the other streets that are well-traveled and.
Yeah, you might want to check. Yeah,
All right, so Joe, look, hey Joe, we'll look at that as part of the budget process next year. We've used all our money for this year with the paving of Reservoir.
I'm saying in the future.
Yeah, we'll look at it for the
in the
budget next
future,
year.
but there are some that are taking.
But as he said, Washington Avenue
Because
is high on the
it's
list.
not well traveled doesn't mean it, you just
Well,
described it.
Washington Avenue is collapsing, so.
So is Anson Avenue.
No.
We'll have the discussion next year as part of the budget process. We don't have a list yet. But we have no money anyway, so it's you. Okay, good, thanks. All right, let's move on. Okay, Nicole.
Yep.
Here's the building department report. Okay, this just tells us four new permits were issued. All right. No plans for any meetings for the planning board or the ZBA. Here's the bank balances. Just I want to put your attention to the two things. One of them is Millbrook Restorations. They recently steam cleaned the awnings over Stewart's as well as the Tokyo China restaurant. All right, China Tokyo. And they also reimbursed a bit of money. How much was it to House of Steffes? They
I think 11,000.
11,000. renovations for the House of Steffes, which is the new replacement for, what was the restaurant? that was before?
Aurelia.
Aurelia's before, right. And so that'll reduce what's available for the Millbrook restorations, which is now sitting at $24,000.
Yeah, I think it was like 13,000 and change.
That makes sense, yeah, for those two actions. Okay. The other thing to note is the Consolidated Trust Fund account, the H&L account, has $26,000 on it. We're going to talk about Patrick. He's got a proposal to redo the steps into the village hall, and that's where we're going to go get money for that. Anything else on the bank balances report, Nicole, you want to discuss?
Nope.
Any questions about the bank balances report? Second from the bottom, you see is the tree replacement program. There's still $7,700 there that the Shade Tree Committee will use to supplement whatever costs we incur for the replacement of the trees for the concrete project.
Yeah, I'll get it.
You'll talk about it later?
I'll
Okay,
get into
good.
that when we get.
Okay, and here's the status of the money we put into New York Class, which is earning about 5% interest. The interest earned year to date, $29,000. That's calendar year. I think fiscal year to date is about 10. I think about 8 to 10.
Yeah, it's on the
Something like
operating
that.
statement, yeah.
But still, it's a good way for money to sit when it's not being used, because it's earning good interest there. Any questions about that? Okay, let's go on to old business. I want to start though with the STR code update. I'd like to put that at the top of the list if you don't mind. So Deputy Mayor Doro.
Sure. So I was unable to make last month's meeting. I apologize, but I listened to the meeting and heard all the comments. Very much appreciated. I guess this proposed law is not. I don't anticipate it to have a drastic effect on owner-operated Airbnbs. Because with the owner either on premises at the time of the short-term rental or, kind of nearby, issues can be dealt with in a timely manner. And so that's a really important part of the law. Short-term rental regulation is about preserving, I think, three things: community, neighbors, housing and housing stock and housing costs, and environmental concerns as well. And so that's what I've been thinking about in trying to form this law. All over the country, at the county level, the state level, national level, municipalities are restricting short-term rentals in various ways. And the village's proposed law, which hopefully will have an owner occupancy requirement and a total limit on the number of Airbnbs allowed in the village, I think will preserve this sense of community that we think Millbrook has, why we all live here, why we moved here to begin with. We had a wonderful porch party a few weeks ago. Some of the neighbors are here. The mayor was there. Trustee Contino was there. Imagine a community that's just full of transient short-term renters. We would not have a great opportunity like that. So that's sort of what I took from last month's meeting. Again, I don't anticipate it having a very drastic effect on the owner-operated Airbnbs in the village, which is the majority, I think, of the short-term rentals in the village. A lot of people that couldn't make it last month are here tonight, and I think hearing them will be very beneficial to the board.
Okay. You and I had talked about some of the possible changes as a result of feedback from last month, but we decided we would wait until we heard feedback tonight before we ever got together and talked about any of those updates, including getting feedback from the board. So I think what you're going to do is open the floor for public comment.
Yeah.
All right, so last month we heard feedback from a lot of the STR owners. We asked for those who were neighbors of such to come forward this month, but we'll don't put forward to anyone who really wants to come forward and give us their perspective, their opinion, their complaints or whatever.
And I'll just say finally that we've received several notes from concerned neighbors as well. Whether they're neighbors of short-term rentals or not, they're concerned about a lot of the same things that I mentioned. So we've heard from other parties as well.
So I'd like to open up the floor for public comment. If you want to come up?
Question?
Yeah, if you want to come up to the.
So, this is quick. Peter, what are the environmental concerns? I've read law, the proposed law, it's not law. And I don't get what the environmental issues
I think there's less environmental issues in the village. The town just had a very contentious
I watched that
meeting. The town is not having municipal water source or municipal sewer, so I think there's less issues for the village, but there are houses on Nine Partners Lane, for example, that are not on village sewer. And imagine, an Airbnb that's going all year round with 12 people in it.
Are we allowing 12 people?
Whatever the number that we decided on could have a very drastic effect on, the septic for that, or village water quality as well. So that's part of the
More than a family.
environmental concerns.
That was your concern. Okay.
Does anyone else want to come forward and make a comment? And so please come up to so we get you on the camera. Just identify yourself.
I'm Kay Bishop. I've lived here for 30 years, and I want to support a law that would restrict short-term rentals to the owner-occupied. Is that
Yeah,
yes?
that's the term.
Yes, and
Yeah.
to preserve the residential character of our neighborhoods and keep it from turning into a commercial neighborhoods. So that's one of the reasons I love living here and why I've lived here and why most people live here. So that's it.
Okay, thank you.
My name's Tim Kapowski. A lot of you know me. I just want to also thank the mayor and the board of trustees for doing your job. I had a great time listening to you all tonight, and this was fantastic. Thank you for what you're doing for our village.
You're welcome.
I'm part of 3 generations that currently resides in the village, both my wife's family and mine. I think we forget a lot about, I know you talked a little bit about the character of the community. We have a very specific position here. We're not against short-term rentals, we're against non-owner occupied. And there's a host of reasons. They all overlap, and they all play a role in this. And I sent a letter in that's a matter of public record. I'd just like to emphasize a couple of the points. When we talk about community, I think people use that word and they don't really understand it. To me, community means a lot of things. I took 15 years ago, I took my son and family to the science fair at Owen Place to see my nephew Thomas's hovercraft. And my sister-in-law had my son in her arms, walking around. And John Shanks, whose family has been here since the Mayflower, came up to me and said, "I saw Kim Stroop with a boy, and I know it's not his, it's a Kapowski." So that was community to me. 45 years ago, I was on a Little League team, and it was a juggernaut known as Washington Lanes. And I was on it with Timmy Race, and 45 years later, he charges me tens of thousands of dollars to dig in my front lawn. That's Millbrook. And my parents had a rough time a couple of years ago. My mom was having some medical issues, and they needed to move out of their house off of Valley Farm into a smaller place. And my wife happened to know Jane Bly, and knew Jane had been talking about maybe moving to the Fountains. And one day, my wife called up Jane, talked to her. Jane wasn't close friends with my parents, but she liked them over the years. She knew them, and she was a community member. And she sold her condo to my parents in a single day. And that happened because of our community that we have here. And I can't ever repay that debt. She could have put it on the market and made a lot of money, and she didn't. But she helped out a neighbor. And that's when you talk about it, it has to mean something. So again, I want to make it really clear, I'm not against STRs. They're important. They do need to be regulated, but I'm not concerned about it. You all will figure that out. But in terms of non-owner occupied, you already touched on some of the things, but on a broader perspective, you all know that Cold Spring, Rhinebeck, Beacon have all completely put the kibosh on this stuff. And nobody wants a cookie cutter village that emulates those. But what the point is that they are three very nice villages. They're sought after villages that people want to live in. They're beautiful. They have strong communities. And those people are smart enough to know that this is not good for the architecture, for the community, for the continuity and the beauty of what we have here. We have a wonderful community. And I've been watching it all night. So it's so that's one part. And also, again, this isn't unusual. It's happening everywhere, like you said. There was an article in the New York Times on Saturday that talked about Wall Street coming for Main Street. I recommend that you all read it. It's not perfectly on point, but it makes the point. You have to guard what you have, and zoning is how you do it. Another thing that, I don't know if you talked about at the last meeting, but this is the current law for existing bed and breakfasts. So there's an owner occupancy requirement. So we're not asking for a revolutionary change in the law. We're asking for an enforcement of existing law over these new uses that are coming into vote. Some of this is going to echo my letter, so if you read it, I'm sorry if I'm going to bore you. But the easiest and simplest reason against the non-occupied short terms are they're not present, and you already touched on that, so I won't go crazy. But the owner occupies the premises, like Lee McEnroe or Kevin McGrain. That's absolutely fine, because the people that come in are going to be aware that the owner is there. They're going to curb their behavior, and if they don't, neighbors have someone else who has to honor the social contract, or things are going to get rough. It keeps things. It keeps the village, and it keeps the character of our village the way we want it. The other thing is that I don't think has been talked about is that non-owner occupancy also curbs the ability of residents to also open Airbnbs, which is something that I think has to be available, especially to our older citizens who are on fixed incomes and may need to rent out a room on a short-term basis to stay here. I don't want them driven out either. So it's more opportunities for those people. The other one is what I call the Migdale threat. So I guess it depends on how much Migdale upsets you. But if you think Migdale would hesitate if we open the doors to our village to non-owner occupancies, that Migdale or any developer wouldn't just say, hey, I'm going to buy 20 of those houses, and I'll overpay for them, and I'll run businesses out of them, short-term rentals. It's a tiny investment to help them control votes in here, control the village, and it's a slippery slope. And if you think that I'm being a little alarmist, read the New York Times article. It's pretty frightening about what's going on. And again, it doesn't need to be a developer. I also don't want, personally, as a resident in this village that's invested in this village, I don't want a bunch of non-resident owners having a voting block over things that happen in my village. Their goals, their desires are different and deviate from mine. I don't want to just raise my property value. I want to maintain my community. And if that hurts my property value, I'm cool with that. Another overlapping reason, which is also insidious, is the fact that allowing non-occupant ownership of these short-term rentals actually raises the price of these houses, raises rents, and when it raises the price, what it does is someone using a house for a short-term rental where they're not going to live in it, that's more valuable to them than someone who wants to move here and live here and become part of our community. So now the house has gone up in value for that person, but the family that's local that wants to buy a house can't because it's not worth that price to them. So you're pushing those people out, you're putting them out of our community, and that's absolutely horrible. What else? And I'm sorry for taking up so much time.
We can put your letter in the record.
Could you do that?
Yeah.
All right. So I guess the reason the places like Rhinebeck and Beacon and Cold Spring have done what they've done and blocked this is precisely because they're lovely and interesting and special places. But once you allow this to happen, you start deteriorating what was this wonderful place. We strongly encourage the village to prohibit these non-owner occupancies in their entirety. And thank you for everything you do.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else want to speak? Alan?
It took so long, now I can't even. I would just agree with pretty much everything Tim said. I haven't lived here as long as he has, but I think pretty much everyone here has at least one property in the village, some more. I used to have a house, another house next to Mike, and not too far from Vicky, and we teetered with the idea of Airbnb, and then I thought, well, I don't want the Herzogs to hate me. And that was that simple, is that we didn't live there. We could have made money on it, but we chose, instead to sell it. So owner occupancy, I think, is critical. But I also want to stress, what does that mean? And I didn't have enough of a chance, Peter, to read the law closely, but there's some pretty clever people out there, and owner occupancy should mean it is your primary residence, and you live there full time. Not an LLC where you have a 1% interest, you can be so-called an owner, because the village is a pretty unique place for all the reasons Tim expressed. Secondly, the costs of this, anybody, certainly Ian is familiar with this, the cost of enforcing zoning violations is difficult, and it should not fall to the taxpayers. However the monetary system is arranged, the folks that qualify for it, and look, we have a problem. We have a beautiful area, we have no place to stay. That problem isn't being solved, as far as I can tell. If you have a facility and you live there all the time and you want to bring people in, you're obviously going to be more responsible, I have a hope. But if there's a breach or a violation, the cost should be borne by that person, all of the costs of enforcement and the costs of regulation. So for example, if we had 12 of them, the permitting costs and the cost to monitor the violations should be borne by those 12 because they've made it, and it's perfectly their right if they're within the law. The village, other than the GB, we all know, is predominantly residential. A mini hotel isn't residential. So for all the reasons I think that Tim expressed pretty well. I mean, you could have done better, but
Our intent certainly is to have a permit fee associated with the cost, cover all the costs, and a violation fee that will be.
Tim, I remember my town board days. Everybody remembers Heidi Otto. We probably spent $100,000 trying to shut Heidi Otto down on North Tower Hill Road. All the taxpayers paid for that, not Heidi Otto. So if somebody's a serial violator of this, or they're not going to take it seriously, within the law there should be some real teeth and real penalty, because some people, Teddy has suffered for a while with this. And let's face it, if anybody stayed in there, I have, when I go to visit my kids, we express genuine care and concern, but not everybody did. We could tell when we got this. So thanks a lot.
All right, thank you. Anyone else?
What's that, Howard?
I started to agree with you, Sherry.
No.
All right. Well, they're a tough act to follow. Heather Lamarway, 72 Maple Ave. I've been a resident for 15 years. I also work in the planning field. I'm very familiar with short-term rentals, the pros, the cons. I've been sort of watching the trajectory of the use and the proliferation of the use with interest. The concerns expressed by everyone who spoke before me, I would just echo those. There are a lot of things you can do when you're regulating short-term rentals, but the real line in the sand is whether or not the property is the person's primary residence. And some of the terminology is a little different that you're using in this law than most of the ones I've seen before, but that's really the key. If it's limited to someone's property where it is their primary residence, then that tamps down on
negative impacts to the community and to the neighbors and to housing. I think that's another really important one. You know, we want to make sure that our housing is achievable for people who want to be members of our community. And if you have outside investors buying up properties and turning them into full-time short-term rentals, that's really a commercial enterprise that negatively impacts the folks who live here full-time. So I applaud you for having primary residence be the linchpin in the law, and I would encourage you to stick with that. There were some sort of technical issues I saw when I was looking at it. I'd be happy to have a chat afterwards with Peter if you want.
Yeah,
You know.
that'd be great. I read your piece, the county piece, which was super helpful. So any more technical feedback, because this is not my area of expertise,
Sure.
to kind of make it work would be
Yeah, I'd be happy to
appreciated.
chat offline. Thanks.
Thank you.
By the way, Peter, is it true that the town submitted their proposal to the county for what was that a requirement?
Yes.
Regardless?
Is that a requirement?
It's under General Municipal Law 239. I would refer any local laws that relate to planning and zoning go to the county for an advisory.
Before we actually approve anything here?
Absolutely.
Okay, that's good to know. Okay. All right, thank you. Yes?
Hi, I was here at the last meeting, and I'm a Airbnb owner.
Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, your name was?
Lori.
Oh, yeah, Lori,
Martin.
sure. Okay, right.
Yeah, I wrote you a letter.
Yeah.
You got it. I mean, well, we're getting folksy here about this. I've lived in this community for over 70 years. My parents bought their house in 1932. My father bought that house from his father in 1960. This is the house that we use in Millbrook for our short-term rental. I do not live on my property. I can't live on my property. I would have to add an extension onto my house to do that. My sister and I inherited that when my parents died, and doing an Airbnb seemed about the best way to be able to stay in this community. My community, Millbrook. Okay, I'm not somebody coming from out of town that's trying to make profit. This is the way we could pay for our taxes, maintain the house, still live in the house if we choose to, and again, be part of the neighborhood and the community. So just because I'm not there all the time, I have a property manager, which is Joe Rochfort. He comes in, mows the lawn, checks everything. He's right up the road. I live in Dutchess County. I live in Bohemian. But I'm trying so hard not to be offended every time I say, living on the property. You have to live on the property. This is the problem. I don't see a problem. I don't see a problem. The people that we have in our Airbnb have been respectful. I think we keep our property more manicured and clean than half our neighbors do. We work very hard, and if you think that you're going to get an influx of people coming in to do Airbnbs, you're crazy. I've lived in this town, like I said, 69 years. There's never been an influx of anything in this town. They push everything out. Okay, so this brings commerce into our town. These people that are coming into my Airbnb are usually going to their kid's graduation, a wedding, a funeral, or they're coming back home. I mean, I just think this is nonsense. The last and only complaint that I heard was about splashing in a pool. Well, maybe pools are the problem. I don't remember pools in the village, but apparently maybe that's the problem. Because I don't hear any other complaints. There hasn't been. This people buying up property and living, it's not going to happen in Millbrook if you've been here. I just think a siren has gone out to get everybody all worked up. Oh, this is going to happen. Oh, it's going to happen. It's not going to happen. It won't.
Well,
not if there's things that we don't like, then let's write a proposal.
We are planning to limit the number of permits available, right?
Well, that's what I heard.
Okay.
Yes. And there's only 8. Number one, there's only 8. The question that you asked about 4 times the last time is how many VRBOs are there in Millbrook? It took us 10 minutes to find out that there are none. Nothing but Airbnbs.
Okay.
And there are 8 of them right now.
County says
There's 14.
14 according to the county.
Well,
Per
there's
the
not
county.
any, they're not operating anymore.
What, within the village or?
Can we continue with public comment and not have everyone else comment?
Sure.
It makes it really hard to follow.
I just need to clarify, because she's talking about how there's a proliferation of people coming in, we're not playing about that.
I mean, you can control that. You can control
We will.
that. You can control people buying up houses. Maybe you've got to be, maybe you have to have, be a resident of Dutchess County or something like that. But the fact that I've got to be on my property while I've got somebody in there, I've lived on that property all my life and since my mother died, we're in and out, and that's when the Airbnb. I do not want to sell my home. I do not want to do a long-term rental because I've had problems with people. You want to talk about destroying your property? There you go. And I have no control of getting into my house if it's a year lease. I also have a furnished house. I would have to figure out how to get everything in there out, or else people are using my stuff. So the short-term rental was the best thing that I could do. Now, I think that there may be other people, I don't know, I think I may be the only one, but that have this problem. Because I just think we're looking at a problem where there isn't. You know? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah, hi, Ted Brooks, 2 Merritt Avenue. I don't want to be a broken record, I spoke last month, but it is, I have one that's not owner occupied. And, you know, we have different people every week. And yes, it is, it's not just splashing in the pool. I mean, they're out there morning, noon, and night. Even someone wrote a letter last month talking about that, how the kids were in the pool all day, all night. And it's true, because you're on vacation. They're acting like they're on vacation and they're paying for it. Well, we're just living our regular life. So I think we have to also be concerned about our neighbors. And I think it's very important to have it owner occupied. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doug Dundas. I live at 49 Maple, corner of Maple and Elm, my wife Jennifer. And I'm here because there's an owner unoccupied Airbnb building directly across the one over from our house. And similar to your story, it's luckily we have a long-term renter there now, but that wasn't the case. And I agree with everything Tim and Alan and other people here have said tonight. And I will just say, I think the demographics are not static. I think that the Migdal effect is real. I was on the board at Dutchess Day School for 9 years, and in the last 3 years since COVID, the enrollment went from now 150 to well over 200. That's a 45–50% increase since COVID, and I think I don't think it's accurate to say that the Millbrook of 10 years from now is the same as Millbrook from 10 years ago. So I'm very happy you're pursuing this in law. The other thing I would say is there's potentially a revenue impact, a revenue benefit for the town, for the village here. I know Dutchess County has a tax, has an occupancy tax. I hope you guys are looking at a village occupancy tax for the few units we do offer, because I just think it's free money, but it'll help to fund the administration of these places. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, my name is Joe Rochfort. I'm currently on the town board of the town of Washington. And I'm also a former trustee in the village of Millbrook. There's a few things I want to say tonight. Number one, to the village board, to Tim and the village board, what you're doing tonight and what you've done in the last month is very valuable. If you attended the town board meeting, Peter did, last Thursday, we realized how difficult this is. Ours was a public hearing on short-term rentals. We realize how difficult this can be for you sitting here, right? Because what we realize, public servants, is we have to take into consideration public comments and realize that as public servants, we cannot take in sometimes our own needs, but we also have to represent the needs of the people that we are representing, right? And this one has this opinion, this one has that opinion, this one has that opinion, right? So what's the best thing to do at times like this, right? Is sometimes come up with a good compromise. I definitely agree with Ken's comment, right? I definitely agree with that, maintaining the community. Your story was very valuable to me because I was very close to that and as you know. I grew up, as all of you know, grew up in the town of Washington. The village residents have been very valuable to me, right, in my later life. As you all know, my parents died young. So enter Dick and Doreen, right? So later in life, they were very close to me. Very, and when Doreen passed away, I felt like my own mother had passed. So Doreen refers to me as her property manager. It's really not the case. While I agree with Tim, I agree with Laurie. Her story is very dear to me, right? Laurie's family has lived in that house for 91 years. She's no stranger to that house. She's not an outsider. Laurie and Eileen, the sisters that run that Airbnb, they're not outsiders moving in. However, I also agree with outsiders moving in and taking over the community, and we don't want that. But we want to maintain the community. Perhaps a compromise can be established where there's a grandfather clause for her residents to be able to be maintained in the manner that it is being maintained now. I think that would be a fair compromise. As for the swimming pool, Teddy, you're gonna hate me for this. Already do. You all know, 1 of 10 children. The swimming pool was very vital to us growing up. That's where our parents put us every day in the summer, right? To take, that was our amusement. Perhaps the compromise could be maintained where if there's a grandfathered situation, maybe Airbnbs are not allowed to have swimming pools. Okay? All right? Thank you all.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening, everybody. I'm probably the youngest person that's lived here in Millbrook. I've been here for 6 years.
Jonathan,
my name's Jonathan Edwards. I live up on Linden Lane, up on the hill behind the school. And I've been a resident here for 6 years. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to move up immediately with my wife and my children. So my wife had another company, and she needed to spend more time back in New York City to get that company up and running. I've heard the information from the July meeting, the August meeting, and I appreciate everybody's side and everybody's opinion should be valued. Like your opinions and your thoughts are absolute, and so are yours, because that's your personal opinion. That's your stance. That's where you lie, and I appreciate that. But I also appreciate the fact that I have a Airbnb, and mine constitutes. I'm a non-resident, but I am a resident because I'm here for more than 6 months of the year. So I don't live in my property. I rent my entire property out, and I have done for 6 years. And when I started, I got one of these, and I think I paid $100 for it, an occupancy certificate. And I'm in the county as well, so I paid taxes to the county. And we just thought that before we get an opportunity to come up and immerse ourselves in this fantastic community with all of you,
and what a great community it is, we would Airbnb, and we probably Airbnb and Verbo to people who are substantially people who either used to live in this area or they come in for a wedding. They come in to watch the leaves falling in the valley. They come for the Wall and Lamb Festival towards the end of the year. Most of the people who come and stay at my property are people who come in the spring and in the fall. And they come for weddings, funerals, graduations, and I host those people. And I really enjoy hosting those people. And when I'm not hosting those people, I'm up here maintaining my property because you have to uphold to very high standards with Airbnb and with Verbo. Because if you have a dirty front yard, if your yard isn't kept or isn't mowed, people won't want to come back and stay again. So I actually value that myself, as I appreciate everybody's comments that you don't want non-resident or LLC properties here. I value myself as I love this community and I can't wait to be an absolute 365-day member of the community. But whilst I'm in that sort of position where I'm transitioning into this area, I classify myself as somewhat as an ambassador on behalf of Millbrook, because I am bringing people in who want to come here and they want to become part of the community and immerse themselves in part of the community for 3 days, for 3 weeks, or a month at a time. And I feel very proud that I can actually bring that family in who knows people in this neighborhood. Otherwise, they're going to go and stay in an outlying town. And all that money those people spend up and down Franklin Avenue, paying for gasoline, supplies, hardware, all that money generating along Franklin Avenue is just going to disappear. So I'm sure that everybody would prefer, those people are coming into Millbrook whether you like it or not. Those people want to come and spend time in Millbrook because it is a beautiful place and we can't stop that. So I'm just a bridging point where I'm making those people feel comfortable, and I feel myself as being just an ambassador for those people to come and stay. And the majority of those people who come and stay tend to be families who also have families here. And I just wanted to, I've only been here for 6 years, but for me it's a business. And if I don't have that business, I'm retired, then I will probably have to, like you suggested, I have no means to maintain my property, so I will probably have to sell. And when I bought my property, I bought that property, which was a vacant lot, for 2.5 years. It was sitting there, doing absolutely nothing. So I feel that becoming part of the community, somewhat, I've actually helped the community in bringing people in, or at least they're spending their money here, and I'm just an advocate towards that. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, come on forward.
Yeah, my name is Mike Lang. I live on Merritt Avenue, next to Teddy. I don't think some people have the impression that people that live in this village are here to shut the people that we have existing B&Bs down. And I've known Lord forever. We've lived on Merritt. My wife's family's lived on Merritt Avenue for. I don't want to give her age away. We've been. Let's say better part of 50 years, more than that. I don't know if anyone's ever noticed. I'm sure you have, but. I mean, years ago there were more families in this village. This was family and family, family and family. Now it's a lot of this village has become rentals. So now a lot of people are afraid if you have, we have a lot of rentals here, and the idea of these B&Bs popping up. is gonna take away from a community feeling, you know, for families, people raising their families. I know it's a tough decision, you know, but, yeah, I'm sure you make the right one. It's just, the idea to have somebody on the property that rents it, you know, like a owner occupied, or somebody that's really on top of it, you know, but if you have, I just wonder, you know, some people, I mean, obviously you're probably not gonna let people have a B&B without being owner occupied. That was my main concern, right? That would certainly help, you know, the neighbors and stuff. I mean, it's, if something gets out of hand, who's to enforce, you know, to see what's going on there? That's why I would assume it's over the owner occupied. If, you know, you live. I mean, you have to meet a middle ground. I understand that. I feel sorry for some of the people who already have this B&Bs for a while, but like Tim said, we're trying to get more of a community feeling in over, and I hate to get away from that. And I don't at the same time want to have some people get their feelings hurt by thinking they're going to get shut down. So I'm sure you're doing it right.
Okay, thanks, Mark.
Confidence.
Okay, who's next?
I'll speak. I'm here
Yes.
on Elm Drive. You know, I'm a village resident, and I know how difficult it is to pass laws and hearing from both sides about people who want something and people who don't want something. And I don't think anyone is saying that they don't want short-term rentals in Millbrook. I don't think anyone's saying, I'm the last one in, let's close the door and not let anybody come. We all acknowledge the value of people coming here and staying here and you know, being vital to our village centers. But I do think we have to look at community and what a non-owner occupied residence does to our community. For all the things that have been said before, as Heather so eloquently said it, that it really is the microcosm of our community to have the communities intact and allow for housing. And once you start having non-owner occupied Airbnbs, VRBO, short-term rentals, it really does start to tear away the fabric of essential housing needs for people in our community. And before we know it, families and elderly are not going to be able to come here and buy homes because non-owner occupied Airbnb short-term rentals will be taking over our community. And I know that Lori doesn't believe that happens, but it does happen. We've seen it happen. That's why other towns, cities, villages are passing these critical laws right now. That's why you're seeing the core of the new laws coming being owner occupied, and they're addressing the issue. So, as unpopular as it may be, I am very much in favor of owner-occupied short-term rentals in our village. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Anyone else? Yes, come forward.
Tony Salvato, we live in the village on North Avenue and Falcon Place, right down from the sewage treatment plant, which wasn't nice in the neighborhood, but I'm very happy. I love it. But and all those that live around us, we're pretty happy there. But a lot of people, you know, real estate agents say, oh, well, you're right down from the sewage treatment plant. Yeah, like. Anyway, I just sold a house across the street from me for a lot more than was expected, and they're ripping it apart. Now they're going to be weekenders. So is that going to be a new thing that everyone's going to be against? I think they're putting another $300,000 in this house. It's going to be beautiful. I have personally improved my neighborhood. I have renovated all 3 houses around me, including my own, and raised the value of that neighborhood. And I'm very proud of it. And I love my neighborhood. I've been there for 35 years. So, okay, so my friend who is she's an absentee, she owns a house on the main road and asked me to read this for her. Also, I wanted to ask, if you have a full-time tenant, because I've also dealt with full-time tenants, I do have one right now, but across the street from my house, it was a very annoying 2-family house, and I finally bought it, because I couldn't stand it anymore and renovated it, and 25 years later just sold it. So, of course now we're a little worried about it because I'm not gonna have control over that house anymore, so I'm gonna have to live with it. Also, full-time, if you have a full-time tenant and you're not happy with them, what is your alternative to get rid of them? Huh? Not if they have a lease, not if they have a lease. I don't think you could do anything for at least a year. At least with an Airbnb, they come and go. Yes. You don't have them.
That's the whole point. They come and go. That's the whole issue we're trying to deal with, is they come and go, and they don't become part of this community.
Once we have
And
the
it
hotels.
takes away housing from long-term renters and people that want to purchase homes in this community and become part of the community. That's what we're trying to address here in a balanced way that satisfies a lot of different parties and constituencies.
I don't think there's one answer.
No,
I
there's
don't
not.
think there's a perfect answer.
Absolutely not.
Definitely not part of the answer. Right.
No. And hopefully.
But you're on your premises, are you not?
Pardon?
Your short-term rental is
I am.
owner-occupied, correct?
Anyway, but this person is not owner-occupied, but she.
And she's not even here tonight. She can't even read her own letter because she doesn't live in this community.
Yes, she does. She's a weekender. Yeah, she was
Okay.
here last time. Yes, she was. She could not come here tonight because she works. She's a working woman.
So do I.
Okay. Yeah,
And
and she doesn't have a job.
and I'm away from my family and my kids right now because I care about this community and I'm trying to preserve it.
Well, so does she. She just can't afford to have that kind of job here. So I'm happy to. Pardon? She did. Yeah. Yeah.
But she wanted to know whether.
Yes, she wants to read. She asked me to read this for her. So hi, and thank you so much for letting me address your meeting.
I'm sorry, who is this?
From Beatrice Martz. She lives on Benin Road, actually in a house that I renovated. She didn't buy it from me, but I enjoyed it. It's a wonderful location.
What was the last name again?
Moritz.
Morris? Okay.
Moritz.
She spoke last time.
M-A-U-R-I-T-Z.
Oh, she did, okay, fine, all right.
Yeah.
It's on the main road. And none of her neighbors are objecting.
That's 100% not accurate.
Well, I'd like to hear from you then.
I have
She'd
a
like to hear
suggestion.
from you.
Could we just post that onto the website? I'm gonna forget what's, there's a lot of distraction, I'm gonna read it, I'm gonna forget it. If I can read it on the computer, maybe that would be better.
To what?
Post it to their website.
Oh, okay.
Post a letter to that.
Are you asking her not to read it?
No, if she wants to read it.
Everyone's taken a lot of time, I don't see why she can get her
Yeah.
time.
Offer that to you.
Once she's been standing there for 10 minutes, let her
People are
read.
interrupting her.
I know, we shouldn't be arguing.
All right,
Yeah,
I'll read it
you got the
quickly.
floor.
She said, hi, and thank you so much for letting me address the meeting. I wanted to reiterate some of the points I made at last month's meeting. I'm a working photographer who was lucky enough to buy a house in Millbrook 10 years ago. But as a small business owner, there are ebbs and flows to my income. The time-honored system of renting my home out occasionally has allowed me to supplement my income to cover my mortgage. It has allowed me to make home improvements and beautify my property in a way I could not have afforded otherwise. This has been a benefit to Millbrook. Since there are no hotels in Millbrook, I have also fulfilled a local need, and I'm happy to report, thanks to Airbnb's screening, checks and balances and review system, there has never been one issue with any of my guests. In fact, over 60% have family or friends in town and are here for weddings, funerals, holiday gatherings, sports events, etc. I've attached a few reviews for reference. These guests also contribute to Millbrook's economy by antiquing, dining, going to any and all of our wonderful local businesses who need it, that are in the referral folder in my home. I also contribute to the economy by hiring a local person to clean my house, as well as a local carpenter to do occasional repairs. My worries about some of the proposals, a lottery does not weed out anyone who might be causing problems. How is that an incentive? Also, how will you be enforcing this? Will neighbors be reporting on neighbors? If I have family or friends over, will someone come by and ask for ID? I want to reiterate that the small group of us who do short-term rentals in town are not corporations. We are neighbors. We are your neighbors and families and friends and ordinary people just like you who are just trying to get by and supplement our incomes with homes we bought ourselves with our hard-earned money. My home is owner-occupied as I love it and love to spend time in Noble. I urge you to stick to the last meeting's fair recommendations, forming a committee made up of townspeople, board members, and a few Airbnb hosts so we can all agree to some reasonable rules. If there are problems, let's solve them together. Thank you. Beatrice Moritz, 15 Denis Road.
Okay, thank you.
Just one thing to say. Joe Pelletri, 30 Reservoir Drive. There's a house being remodeled on Reservoir Drive, and I happen to be the neighbor on it. And they're getting there. It's a slow process and everything. And I'm constantly getting people stopping by, or if they see me out in the yard, asking me what's going on with the house. And I said, as far as I know, the guy intends to flip the house when he gets it completed. And there's been several inquiries about making it a short-term rental, making it an Airbnb. I know there's a happy medium out there. Do I want an Airbnb next to me? I really don't. I don't want a short-term rental next to me, but I know there's a way that it can be resolved. I mean, whether that's an owner-occupied or what. But one of the couples that came by live in Colorado. They say they come out here now and then, and they would just, rent the house, Airbnb the house, because they have so many people out there that they know that come to the East Coast, whether it's New York City, and like the area. Do I want to see that happen right next to me? I really don't. But if it can be monitored somehow, however that would be, there is a happy medium. I think we just got to get to that point, whether it's, owner occupancy or whatever. But that's about it. Okay.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. I don't feel well, so I'm sitting. Buffy asked me to read a text message or a message from Buffy. She couldn't stay.
From who?
Buffy.
Oh, from Buffy.
Actually, could I first say, perhaps in the future, when you have this many people coming for a subject, that maybe you could move it higher up on the agenda. I think, as riveting as Scott's report was, I don't think we'll need to hear about flushing the sewer lines, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Thank you. I mean, you did move Buffy up, because she had to. Sorry I had a long weekend. I still have company at my house. I'm in the process of drafting a letter to all board members and members of the MBA. Buffy is the president of the MBA. She's writing a letter to them to get a feedback on how they feel about short-term rentals. Most people that she has spoken to are local business owners. Think it's very important to have short-term rentals because they definitely drive business, and it has a trickle-down effect in the village. The Airbnb owners end up shopping in the village to support their guests. Most people do agree that we need to register our Airbnbs. I know that somebody spoke about, we do need safety regulations, which the town has put in theirs. And after the town meeting, yes, that was put into the village piece that was handed out. We need safety regulations and they should be inspected, which is what you are all planning on doing. You would be paying for a permit. It was mentioned $500, $1,000, whatever it happens to be. I think the Airbnb owners would be fine with that. So it will not be coming out of the taxpayers' pockets. There should be, and the Airbnb should have safety precautions for people who are coming to visit, which when you're an Airbnb owner, you have that in there already. In our listing, you will see that there are fire extinguishers, smoke detectors. We all have to mark that off. I apologize. I can't see. I understand that a lot of people would like to have owner occupied. I would like to say the need to have, that maybe perhaps we could have a property manager for people who are not here. I know that somebody in the room is not considered a property manager, but he's right down the road in case there's an issue. Also, you all are planning on perhaps hiring Granicus, which if there's an issue, Granicus will help. And if there's a property manager, the neighbors will have that person's phone number, and they can call that person. That's the short version of what our feedback is. I'm sorry. I spoke last month, so I'm not going to repeat it.
Okay.
You know that the businesses in this community need people coming in. We have no place to stay here. When the town did their meetings, when everybody came, they gave their opinion on what we need for hospitality. It was an overwhelming response for it. We need small places. We don't want a big hotel. But Airbnbs and inns, small inns, are needed. We don't have a place to have an inn. We need smaller Airbnbs or bed and breakfasts.
Okay, thanks. And you said Buffy sent a letter to get feedback from the businesses.
She's going to send a letter out, yes.
All right, thank you.
I'd just like to say that that the town's comprehensive plan committee also, in their short-term rental section, suggested a owner occupancy requirement. So while the town has chosen not to implement that, it's neither here nor there. But the village is a dense municipality. It's different than the town, and I think the owner occupancy requirement will cut down on a lot of these issues. And of course, the business community wants Airbnbs because they want more business, and I understand that. If there were more places to stay in Millbrook or the town, that would be great. But it shouldn't be on the backs of village residents because there's no other plan. That's not fair. And I think kind of Kay mentioned it, and Heather did too. These are commercial enterprises. Clearly, that's why there's so many people here concerned because they're making a lot of money from these things. These are commercial enterprises, and zoning should protect.
They're not making a lot of money.
Zoning should protect residents, the people of this village, not businesses. That's what zoning should protect as their prime concern, the residents, not the businesses. That's a secondary concern.
Okay,
Owner occupancy helps to do that.
We're wrestling with that. Let's see if there's more public feedback.
Okay, but the way I read the law that you're proposing, it seems like you're intending to limit the number of Airbnbs, which I think is great. So I don't understand if we limit it to 20, 25, or 20, let's say. How will then people swoop in and buy them all up? And I mean, if it's limited, won't that keep out big developers? And we need keep places. I've rented, Kevin's is never free, from when my kids came. There's no place for people to stay here. We need some. I agree they should be limited. I don't understand why they have to be owner occupied if you have somebody like Joe right there. I know the one by Teddy. I go by there all the time. It seems very well managed. It's beautiful. There's huge shrubs all around it, so you can't see it. It's been nothing but improved. Every one of their places is beautiful, well maintained, and they weren't before. A lot of them. Well, Tony, and that same with that house was falling apart, and now it's beautiful and attractive. So, I think if you really limit the numbers, that would really do the trick for you. Keep too many people out. And one more thing, criticizing Beatrice for not being here tonight. People have Peter, you weren't here last time. Yeah. I don't think that's
and she
fair.
spoke last time, so we've heard.
None of these people heard her. A lot of people are speaking 2 times.
Right.
So anyway, I just want to say people can't always be there every minute. We have lives, we have to travel, we have to do things. So I just thought that was an unfair criticism of Beatrice. She's a nice lady.
Maybe the attorney can give open meeting law determination about reading other people's letter into public comment. Do you have a decision on that, Ian? Public open meetings law?
What is that again?
I do not believe it is in keeping with open meetings law, reading someone else's letter into public comment. Someone can write you a letter and submit it for public comment, but reading text messages and letters from other people into public comment is a violation of the open meetings law, and they should both be stricken from the record, to be technical, unless people want to start giving their addresses and their cell phone numbers out for everyone who can't make it tonight, to send letters to them to be read into public comment and text them to be read into public comment.
Yeah, I'm not aware that it's a violation of open meetings law. You're, in this case here, you're allowing public comment. It's not a public hearing, hasn't been advertised as a public hearing as far as I know. It's, you're allowing people to speak at the discretion of the board. So you control how you want them to comment.
We're looking to get all the feedback we can get, so all I can say. Yes?
Can I add also, I'd really like to thank you all for finally having a conversation with people from the community, which probably should have happened a long time ago. You should have been talking to Airbnb owners, talking to residents, and talking to the business owners.
Okay.
Nothing was done like that. The town had a committee.
Who was on that committee? Do you know, Kevin?
I don't know all of their names.
Joe Rochfort knows.
I can tell you that who's on the town committee. The town committee is all, if you don't mind me answering the question. The town committee is all town administrators. It's Bob Audia, Joe Rochfort, James Sweeney,
Richard Phelps.
I'm sorry,
Richard
Richard Phillips, he's also on 4 other committees in the town. It's an all-male, all-town administrator committee, not one woman, not one neighbor that's going to endure the absolute loose and overwhelmingly unrestricted laws. We're going to have little hotels. I mean, you guys, I'm like, it's wonderful you have this much community together, but the town's a whole other world. So I know that you like to bring up the town as an example, but it's their law is actually a disaster for residents
They
in
actually
the town.
worked on it with a committee, not just
You
one
worked
person.
on with what?
No, I'm saying that the town worked with a committee, and that's what I'm
They worked
hoping that
with
the
a
village.
behind the scenes committee that was never public and nobody really knew what they were doing. So
Let's go back to the village feedback. Let's talk about the village.
Well,
We obviously chosen a different way to do it, and let's focus on feedback from village.
Well, I would hope that the village would do a committee from different members of the community.
We talked about that last time. I think we decided that we would best take feedback from the community, and then work as a board to figure out what's the best way to.
I've been talking about this for at least a year since I joined the board, and we've met with Jonathan several times, which was great and helpful. We met with other people. We've received a lot of feedback, and I know Tim and I and anyone else would be more than happy to meet with people individually to hear concerns and anything like that. So that's absolutely on the table all the time.
I don't mean to call you on this, but you didn't speak to Jonathan until after I called him to tell him that this was going on. And that was a month ago.
But that's fine.
We've been working on this for months. It would be nice if you had.
Well, I never heard from Jonathan until then either. I know you corralled
Since
everyone.
then, we've built a pretty good rapport.
Yeah,
and
sure. I'm very happy.
We've found
And that's what I'm saying. I'm glad that you're having
I appreciate
a conversation.
the introductions to people because it's definitely very helpful to try to get something that.
I think it's all good. It's all
And that's
Okay.
where I started. I was saying thank you for having.
Sure. All right. So anyone else here that wants to speak?
I would like
Yes,
to
come on
say
forward.
something in addition.
You wanna come forward?
Let me just say, everybody else is just sitting at this point.
Well, I can't really hear you.
I'll talk loud. Carrie Kapowski, Tim's wife.
Okay.
We have a very unique situation. We are bordered by 2 non-owner occupied Airbnbs. They border our property. Both properties are lovely, renovated, beautiful. We like the owners. We have no problem with the owners. But that's a lot. And neither of them saw fit to tell us that they were turning their homes, which we thought they were living in, into Airbnbs. So in the middle of the night, after 3 or 4 months of a vacant house being there, all of a sudden there's lights on, there's people moving in, we have no idea who they are, and it's uncomfortable. It's not normal, it's not natural, it's not what we bought in the village to live next to.
I think the way they went about it was wrong. I think the fact that this is allowed is wrong. And I'm just really happy that we're finally addressing this. I hope that there are some changes later.
Okay, thanks.
Well, I think one of your latest comments is you want an Airbnb host to message or email the immediate neighbours that you have that you're a host. Is that correct?
I never said that.
Isn't that
Carrie said
something-
that. I think it's a natural thing for
Yeah,
a neighbor to
absolutely.
do.
Yeah.
I don't know if we can legislate that, but
Yeah, we literally have to find out about it from the guests waving to us. Like every week it was a new family. Every week there were lights on all night, crazy people coming and going, people outside, fires, like fire pits, people hanging out, parties, little bachelorette parties, you name it. This is not why we chose to live in the village. I don't want to live next door to that. I'm sorry, I just don't.
They sell their house and go to buy it.
And I had originally expressed support for owner occupied, which I was told very strongly support. I also would support grandfathering in someone that's been a village resident for however many generations. I like the idea of grandfathering someone that's already here. I don't know about all of them, but certainly some. Such as, well, exactly.
Okay, thank you.
There you go.
Okay, anyone else?
Well, hopefully, we won't have a problem, we're gonna have 2 hotels, hopefully, if that works out. We're,
On 44.
44, yeah. Lovely Frenchman is letting on buying that and turning it into a hotel.
Old day top, old day top.
Okay, I can't wait here. Is anyone else looking forward to speak? Howard?
Yeah,
And then the couple.
I'd like to make a comment, not on what people said. Let me see if I can get up. I've lived here a long time, so I'm not going to comment on what anybody said. They have a right to say what they want to say. My background, I'm a science teacher, and I've been a scientist all my life. And so I'm looking around at what's happening in the country. As the Airbnbs became more popular, there became more people opposed to them. So there seems to be a cause and effect to this. So I'm saying that probably what would work the best, what seems to have most people in most parts of the country have settled on and tried to settle on, is owner-occupied and a host in the Airbnb. And that seems to have satisfied most people. Now, I'm not saying anything about Milburn. I'm saying this is where the trend seems to be going. And if it's going in that direction, there's probably a reason for it. And I think it's prudent to look and see what's happening all around and not take individual opinions on one side or the other and say this is the way it's supposed to be. That's how science works. They look at what's happening, they make an analysis, they look at again, see where the trend is going. And in my opinion, the trend in this country seems to be owner-occupied housing needs to work the best and post on the property. In fact, the Poughkeepsie newsletter that comes out periodically said the same thing. That they don't say that you can't have Airbnbs. They said that's probably something that's going to be here. But they said that very definitely you should limit it to owner-occupied hosting. And if the Poughkeepsie Journal, which is not the Poughkeepsie, I'm sorry, the Poughkeepsie Department of Planning, which puts out a newsletter every month or two, would say that, and they're very liberal, by the way, they're very broad-minded. There must be a reason for them saying all of that. It's just a matter of what the trend is. So I'm not saying anybody who said anything here is right or wrong. I'm saying there seems to be a trend that's occurred with these Airbnbs, and the trend seems to be toward the longer they're around, the more communities want to have them owner-occupied and hosted. And I think that would be a prudent thing to do, consider in our community as well. Why are these other towns and villages moving in that direction? And that's all I want to say. I don't want to get into anything else about it. That's all I want to say when I was listening. That there must be a reason why this is happening. And thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. So as we said at the start, a long time ago. We're now going to take all this input and go back and work. Yep. First, I think Peter and I are going to work together, and we're going to come back to the board probably next month with we're going to start recommending. And then based on board input, we're going to decide how to proceed. All right. And of course, you'll all be invited to attend, and we'll have public comment in every meeting. Yes, Doug.
Is the law draft anywhere? Is that available anywhere?
What is that?
Is the draft of the actual
It's
law?
online, yeah.
It is online?
It is online.
Yeah, it was posted at the last month's meeting as a resolution. You table for the time being until we go and work on some of the details.
That's it.
Especially for simply.
But it's from July, isn't it? It's the same one from July.
It hasn't changed.
Yeah.
Hasn't changed? Okay. All right, thank you. All right, so we move on?
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's take a 5-minute break. I'll race you to the road.
No 5 minutes. Let's go.
No, I can't.
Hi, Joe. Thanks for coming by.
I gotta eat dinner. At some point. Well, trying to be fair with people, there's not a whole lot. Like I said, we're gonna be back up right. It's 9. It's 9 January.
Don't worry about it.
Don't get ready for me.
Good night.
Get up since 4 a.m. I'm exhausted.
God, I know. Had you spinning on Airbnb still.
You know something? I'm bored making eye contact with you.
Still recording. I don't know if the batteries are going to survive any longer. So
it's just on battery.
Nothing's plugged in. Let's go. Chop
All right.
chop.
All right. So can we get that back? Can I ask those of you in the back to sure, yeah, I got one. I got one.
I get a few things.
All right, Mike. Let's go to the sidewalk project.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, ready? Let's go, Mike.
I'm right waiting. All right. So, sidewalk project.
Yes.
All right, we had a pre-construction meeting with the county last week and with SunUp, who were doing who was the contractor for the project. We went over all of the forms we had to fill out. The county is 100% not only behind us, but thinks we're right on track, and that's fine. At this point, the last thing that's holding us up being able to start the actual project by ripping up sidewalk is the fact that we need an approval from Department of Transportation. And once we get that permit, we can go. Tom Harvey, who's the engineer on the project, has been prepping this by talking to someone higher up at DOT for 2.5 months, making sure that someone been out here to look at the village, to make sure to look at the project and to try to get any of the possible hiccups that could happen ironed out before the permit even goes in. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed. We're not going to be sitting here waiting for the permit while someone hasn't been in their basket for like 6 weeks. Right? The second thing we need to know is that we had the walkthrough with the contractor on Monday. We discussed some of the add-ons we needed to that were different from the original budget for different reasons. And he was very optimistic that he thought he could bring in the project for basically under the $200,000 still that that we have as a goal if we can, and that the only caveat is the fact that when he started discussing the trees, he said, "Look, the trees are not." the trees I can't do the trees with this kind of a time frame. By the time I get just exactly the trees that you guys want to have, and by the time I get them here, and I don't even know if we're going to be able to get the concrete done. And he said, my drop dead date for most of the work is the middle of November. He said by the middle of November, so a lot of the concrete places and a lot of other blacktop places pretty much closed down and you can't be doing a project. And he said, I can't guarantee by law anything after November 15th when it comes to anything I put in the ground. So he said, I'd rather have trees right out of the contract. So we agreed to that and said, fine, we'll put in trees in the spring. We put in the trees we want, and the trees have been recommended by the Shade Tree Commission, and go through all of the procurement process exactly the way we have to, and make sure we're getting the trees that we need. That's not gonna happen by 2023, it's gonna be in 2024. Okay, so that's pretty much it.
All right, good.
And I think, you know, I am still hopeful, because we've been through this before, where we did the 2017 project, and we were bumping up pretty close against it, and we got it done, even with trying to do the crosswalk paintings in early December. So, well, I think we can get it finished.
Okay. Any questions about that? All right, and Pat, thanks for joining the walkthrough. I think it was a big help for you to be there.
Yeah, Patrick was essential, and he was,
Yeah.
he's been great, so thank you.
Okay. Good, thanks. Okay, next job, Pat, the Village Hall steps.
Yes, so I got 3 bids on it.
There are pictures on there.
What'd you say?
There's pictures of the steps.
There are?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Very good.
oh, okay.
They look great.
They
They
do.
look good.
That's a good before picture.
Yeah, keep those for.
Yeah, right.
All right, we got. I got 3 bids. 2 of them came in very close. One a little bit high. Do I just give you that?
Yeah,
highest
why don't
one
you
or
tell us who
lowest
they're
one?
from and how much?
All right. So I got Bob Simoncelli, which is Simoncelli Brick and Stone Masonry, and that was for $7,810.
Okay.
I got Marco Boscardin and Sons, which is $8,552.
Hmm.
And then I have JP Woods Inc., which is $18,000.
18,000? So what's your recommendation? And again, if you've got a recommendation, for example, the middle bid you think is better because of whatever technical expertise of your own, you should recommend that to the board. So based on those 3, what do you recommend?
Honestly, both Marco Boscardin and Bob Simoncelli are very good masons, so it's lowest bid, I guess.
Okay, fine.
But, yeah, I would.
And by the way, does the bid
but-
include taking out the middle
The railing.
middle railing?
If it's salvageable, they're gonna save it. I'm trying to save it.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Or they
fine.
can just yank it if they want. If it's like because it's not really, you're just putting it back into the cement, you know,
Yeah.
that you're repouring anyway. So it's really not. But as long as that's still okay then.
All right. So why don't you make a motion that we accept the lowest bid?
I make a motion. Do we
I'll
make
second.
a motion for Bob Simoncelli?
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. To be funded by using the comprehensive consolidated trust fund.
Okay.
So you tell them to go as soon as
Yeah.
they can?
Do you want me to just shoot him a text tomorrow? Maybe?
Yeah. Go.
I'd shoot it
It's a
tonight,
cool.
but it's late.
No, it's up to you. Well, let's get that going. That's
Yeah.
great.
All
Good
right,
job.
very good.
All right, excited. Okay. All right, next is the public hearing on the.
They all left.
Nobody cares about this?
Howard does.
I'm
We can do
surprised.
whatever we want. This is the public hearing to review the resolution to increase the senior and veteran tax exemption. We've talked about this many months.
Did you open it? Did
I'm
you
sorry?
make the motion?
So I'm about to do that.
Oh.
Just want to check with Ian. So we have the document in front of us here. And so we're going to make a motion to open the public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Public hearing is now open. Any comments from the public regarding the resolution to increase the exemption limits for both seniors and veterans?
No, I have more comment.
Okay, so-
I think, by the way, I think it's good to help out seniors. I'm a senior.
Okay. You're a non-resident senior, but that's never
No,
mind.
I didn't say that. Observation.
Okay, based on no feedback from the public, I'll make a motion that we close the public hearing. Can I get a
Second.
second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Public hearing is now closed. I want to then go forward with a resolution to introduce this local law? What's the word
No,
again?
you introduced the local law at your
Oh.
August meeting.
Okay,
You scheduled a public hearing, you're required to have a public hearing on the local law, which you just had.
okay,
And so now you can adopt it, enact it.
okay,
I put in the resolution, it's not subject to seeker because it is a type, what's called a type 2 action. There are certain actions that are presumed to not have any adverse environmental impact. In this case, the local law is just changing, or in this case, increasing the exemption amounts for real property tax exemptions that the village board had already enacted.
Mhm.
So you're just increasing the amount of the exemption. So not subject to seeker. So the only thing left to do is to enact the local law by adopting this resolution. And again, just to summarize, it's a local law that increases the exemption amounts for real property tax exemptions for veterans and senior citizens.
in 2 steps. One
into
to occur June
phase-
next year.
Correct.
Another step to occur June following year.
So consistent with the, what's allowed under the statute, you're increasing the exemption amount for veterans for next year by certain amounts, and then increasing the exemption amounts by a greater amount for 2025.
Right.
And similarly with the senior citizens exemption, you are increasing the maximum income eligibility amounts. I think I said that correctly. So senior citizens exemption is a little bit different. It has a maximum income level, and then it gets phased out.
Yeah.
And what you're doing is for 2024, you increased the maximum income levels and the phase out level. For 2025, you increased the maximum income level and the phase out level even more.
Right. Actually, to achieve the town of Washington's levels by 2025.
Right.
Yeah.
So to be on par with the town of Washington.
Right.
So you just need a motion and a second, and then a roll call vote.
I'll make a motion that we accept this resolution. Second. Okay, now roll call.
Hold on, I gotta write all this down because I didn't have that written
Okay, I
down.
made the motion, Deputy Mayor, second. Now the roll call.
Okay, Mayor Collopy,
Here, aye.
Deputy Mayor Doro,
Aye.
Trustee Herzog,
Aye.
Trustee Contino,
Aye.
Trustee Murphy.
Aye.
Okay, passed.
Nice.
The local law is adopted.
All right, good, we have to file it with the state, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I know Sarah knows.
Sarah knows how to do
how to
that, right.
that.
All right,
Apparently
Good.
doesn't, but, yeah, I'll follow up with Sarah.
okay, good. Let's move on.
Thanks, Ann.
I dare anybody else to offer something new. Deputy Mayor.
Just kidding. No,
How about adjournment?
still waiting on the tennis courts to get
Oh, good point.
fixed, I
All right.
think. So hopefully soon. I'll follow up with them.
Please, thank you.
We'll-
We're just wondering if by the fall before it gets cold.
It's a tennis court cracks that the vendors are redoing for free because they only last a year, basically.
We have board member updates now.
Yes, we are.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
Just breezing through this.
we thought. Okay, Mike,
Okay.
what's yours on?
All right. First thing, I'll make a motion that draft map number 8 on water resources, which we're going to see tomorrow night at the NRI presentation, be approved for the meeting and for public review.
Well, so background is we want to provide the map of the water sources for the village water. And evidently there's security concerns with making that public. And so it needs a motion by the board to approve releasing that to the NRI for them to present it tomorrow.
Is it part of that report or no? It's a separate document.
When I went on the report that the researcher who was doing all the water resource for us came upon this report in 2004. It was a SWAP report, source water protection report. And it said that it's up to the discretion of the water provider whether or not they want to be able to make any kind of information about where they get their water public or not. This was at a time when we had troops in Iraq and Afghanistan, and Homeland Security was incredibly worried about what could happen if people got information. But the map you're going to see is basically going to be the water resources for not only our village and for our town, and not delineated as such, for almost the entire county, because this map is going to show the water resources going almost all the way up to Pine Plains and then down again. So there's nothing.
You don't have any concerns?
I don't have any concerns
Basically,
about it.
if you've got Google Maps, you can get a lot better
that's
tracing of where
that's
water
the
comes from.
first point. And second point, all of this material and everything we talked that they showed us from NRI is already on public access.
So I think based on that, any issues? All right, there was a motion made by Mike?
Yes.
A second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, any opposed? Okay, good. Thanks, Mike, go ahead.
Okay, and the other thing that I have pretty much is just a reminder from everyone, please, we do have the presentation from NRI tomorrow night. There's going to be a lot of technical information, but they're going to try to kind of go over it. And if you want any
Should be like an hour.
Yeah, and if you want any more access to the information, we'll be happy to give it to you, but we're going to do the best we can to make sure we don't put you to sleep and sit there trying to overwhelm you with a lot of stuff, but at the same time, give you some basic knowledge about soils, water, animals, habitats, and the other stuff that we're going to be
Okay, good.
from the NR
Anything else?
report. And I believe that's it.
Okay, Trustee Catino.
Nothing to report.
Trustee Murphy. Okay, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much, everybody. 9:17.
It's a record.
Thanks again, you were great. Oh, boy. It was very helpful to get